more banged up. Even McKay has traded his one-liners for a recent angry threat to punch a reporter in the mouth. And today, the Bucks get Dallas. I want to help my Tampa friends. So here are two hopeful notes. One, when the Cowboys watched the films of the Packer game, they thought it was a Mel Brooks festival. Maybe they'll be laughing too hard to crush the Bucks today. Two, look back on that glorious day when you first qualified for the playoffs in 1979, outlasting Kansas City in a true Florida monsoon. That brings up a Tom T. Hall country song that might just be the one-liner McKay needs now. I hope it rains at my funeral, because for once, I'll be the only one dry. The moral from Bucks Corner is I'm not a fair weather friend. I like the Bucks when they were good, and I like them even when they're bad. And Bucks, you know, this worked when I did it for the Jets. I'll try it with you. May the hat be with you. Lane?
John McKay at 0-5. He isn't in any kind of trouble, is he?
Owner Hugh Culverhouse says he expects to see McKay coaching for a long time. So do I.
Okay, you know, the Bucks have never beaten Dallas in their history either, so it's going to be tough today.
Yes, it will.
All right, thank you, Pete. And that'll do it for NFL 83. Remember, we'll be here throughout the day with scores, highlights, and updates. So for all of us at NFL 83, I'm Len Berman. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the game, everybody. It's coming your way right after these words from your local station.
Lake Erie, Cleveland, Ohio, 60-degree day. Sun trying to fight its way through the clouds. It's windy here in Cleveland. A sellout of some 80,000 fans to see two teams battling to stay in first place in their divisions, the New York Jets and the Cleveland Browns. Today's game brought to you by Chevrolet, official U.S. cars and trucks of the 14th Olympic Winter Games. Chevrolet and you taking charge. By Budweiser, proud sponsor of the U.S. Olympic team. For all you do, this Bud's for you. And by GMAC, the financing people from General Motors. Well, it's a big, enthusiastic, and colorful crowd here in Cleveland Stadium to see the Browns 3-2, the Jets 3-2. They share first place in their respective divisions and trying to stay there. And in the great Cleveland tradition, we're going to see another outstanding running back, Jim Brown, Leroy Kelly, Greg Pruitt, and now number 43, Mike Pruitt. He is the current leader of the American Football Conference, averaging 97 yards rushing per game. And Merlin Olsen, everyone says you have to stop the run. The Jets until Monday night weren't very effective at that.
The Jets have chased a lot of good running backs into the end zone, haven't stopped many of them. But last week against the Buffalo Bills, they stopped the #1 rusher in the AFC, holding Joe Cribbs to just 28 yards. Now, after that great performance, they're still in 27th place in the NFL against the rushing game.
Well, they have to stop Pruitt today, or Brian Sipe, the quarterback of the Browns, would enjoy a comfortable afternoon. Sipe has been hot and cold.
Brian Sipe really stopped himself and the Browns last week. 4 turnovers, personally held responsible on 3 pass interceptions and 1 fumble, and that's the kind of thing that Sam Rutigliano does not want to see today. Now, when Sipe is hot, he can be very, very hot. 1980, he was the league's MVP, and he can throw the football extremely well. On this shot, he puts it into the hands of Harry Holt, and he'd like to be thrown to the guys in the white uniforms out there today.
Well, the Jets are performing without the #1 rusher in the entire National Football League last year, Freeman McNeil. He's out for a couple of months, but it's a talent-rich team, the Jets, and they have capable fill-ins.
They've got a lot of fine players. Bruce Harper, number 42, 118 yards last week. They were glad to see him come off the injured reserve list. Crutchfield, Durking, Augustiniak. They'll use these backs in different combinations, and they use them very effectively.
So the Jets in their green and white getting ready for the kickoff. The Browns will receive. There's Joe Walton in his first year as the head coach of the Jets, replacing Walt Michaels this year, in a 4-way tie for first in the East. And Sam Rutigliano on the near sidelines. His team also tied for first place with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who will engage Cincinnati tomorrow night. The Browns will get the ball first. Dwight Walker and Boyce Green are deep as Pat Leahy kicks it off. Kicking with the wind, and you see already the effects of those gusty breezes off the lake. We'll have some adventures on kickoffs and punts going especially right to left. Brian Sipe, the quarterback, veteran from San Diego State, where he played for Don Coryell. Dwight Walker and Mike Pruitt, the leading rusher AFC. Bobby Jones, the former Jet, along with veteran Dave Logan, the tight end, brilliant Ozzie Newsome, and when they go to the 2 tight end offense, Harry Holt from the CFL. The blockers, Deacon, Jackson, Bad, they love that kid at center. Delamalure, the veteran, and Ryson will have his hands full with Gastineau. From the 20. Joseph Brown close enough. Number 81, Holt, as Marty Lyons, number 93, a top draft pick from Alabama, was pressuring Sipe. Here, the Jets sack exchange. A new look with Gastineau staying outside, and Joe Klecko moving from defensive right end to left tackle, shore up that running defense. Marty Lyons and Kenny Neal rounding out the front four. Buttle, Woodring, and Mel, the linebackers. The deep four, Holmes and Jackson at the corners, and Schroy and Ray at safety. 2nd and 10. To Newsome, and outside Newsome, who was looking for the ball inside. Much like the offense run by the San Diego Chargers, everything is thrown to a spot, and Sipe and Newsome were in disagreement, Merlin, on that one.
Well, certainly some miscommunication. When Sipe is on and when he is hot, he can rifle that football, but he is adjusting to a whole new system. Larry Weaver, the offensive coordinator that Sam brought in, had brought that San Diego system here, and he said he's only been able to install about, well, a little less than half of what he would like to have done in this first year. But Sipe is having to do a lot of thinking, and that sometimes is hard on a quarterback who's used to going on gut instinct and raw talent.
Triple left appeared the Jets were offside. Flags are down. Sipe has a man, Bobby Jones. Down at the 36. That's a first down. We'll check the penalty. Jets did jump the gun. Were they pulled offside?
Certainly, if they did jump offsides, they will refuse the penalty.
Offside, number 93. Decline the penalty. First down.
16 yards to Bobby Jones, the former Jet receiver, and he's done very well here in Cleveland.
First and 10 for the Browns. Set down 36.
Jones down the left side, Sipe able to spot him, and this is the kind of pinpoint passing that we'd indicated that Sipe is capable of. You saw right in the early going here the good and the bad of Brian Sipe.
Pruitt's first carry, and the 225-pounder from Purdue slams out to about the 38-yard line, maybe the 39. A gain of nearly 3. Woodring and Buttle, the tacklers.
Woodring, of course, getting a lot of playing time on the inside now and doing a very good job. Pruitt, certainly one of the most capable of the single backs used at this time of single back offenses, used primarily because of his great strength. He can break tackles in there for you, and he's also a good pass receiver, Dick.
Well, he's caught a pass in 53 consecutive games. Pruitt again. Not much there. Out to the 40-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 6. John Woodring, who was replaced Stan Blinka, made the hit. Woodring, number 57 from Brown University. His dad is Dean of College of Engineering at Drexel, and he has a sister who's an outstanding lacrosse player at Brown.
And as is the case for many players, he spends some time over there on the sideline as he's replaced by number 50, Bob Crable. Crable will come in on passing situations for the Jets.
Along with number 29, Johnny Lynn, in a 4-2-5 defense. Bit of running by Sipe, and he has nailed Jerry Holmes 47 and Klecko 73. I believe he might have picked up the first down. He's to the 46. As you can see, Sipe is not known for his blazing speed.
Not known for his speed, but certainly you can't criticize his courage here, and he knows full well where he has to go to get that first down. Now, a little bit of good running right there, but watch him as he takes a shot right there by 3 of the Jets on defense. Boy, he paid for that yardage.
Sipe, who is only 6'1" and 190. They said he was scouted at San Diego State. He's too small, he can't throw, and he's not mobile. He was one of the very last men picked in the draft back in '72 and has become not only a starter but a MVP in the league. Pruitt trapped in the backfield by Neal and then dragged down by Mel and Woodring. It'll be a loss of 3 or 4.
I talked to Kenny Neal about that switch from defensive tackle to defensive end. Neal very pleased to be out there on the wide side. He he really was not physically suited to playing that defensive tackle position. Was not strong enough really to stand up under that double teaming and the blast blocking inside, but seems to be very comfortable outside. And I think Klecko is just the opposite. His great strength has become an asset now in that tackle position, and I think he'll be more effective in that position than he was at defensive end.
7 sacks, as you saw Monday night against Buffalo. The Jets had only 4 sacks in the first 4 games. That was a loss of 5. So on second down, Sipe to throw. Ozzie Newsome at the Jets' 46-yard line. It'll be shy of a first down, however, by 2. 14 yards on the play.
Ozzie Newsome, one of those special receivers, and he gets special privileges really in this offense. They've designed a lot of it to get him open. Right here he's working on Johnny Lynn, number 29, but that's just sheer talent to be able to go up and pull one out of the air like that and then to hang on to the football.
Here it is again. It's Newsome, who has averaged 52 catches a year, yet has to fight his way to get Pro Bowl recognition. There's abundance of outstanding tight ends with Winslow and Odoms and Chester and Ross and Casper edging him out in the last 3 years. He's made it only once. It is not a first down. This is 4th and short, and Pruitt plows in for the first down at the 43.
The strength of this offensive team for the Browns really revolves around the offensive line, Pruitt and Sipe when he's on. You see the kind of power that he gets coming in behind Joe DeLamielleure right there, pulling up behind him, and Robert Jackson, the 2 pulling guards, giving him a little room. But a big back like Pruitt, once he gets squared away to that line of scrimmage and gets a little speed up, he is mighty tough to haul down.
First report from Chicago. Minnesota's Darren Nelson has run 56 yards for a touchdown. Vikings lead 7-0. Pruitt. Whoa. Boy, he gets up a load of speed and that 225 pounds. But Joe Klecko, and I want to ask you about that. Here's Klecko playing your position. Defensive tackle, moving from end. What are the complications of that move?
Well, certainly a difficult transition, but right now you're seeing Klecko on the inside. But let's watch Gastineau right here on the front of your picture. He's going to break to the outside and really using too much speed, overruns the backside of the play. Now, Gastineau is so quick that often he can come from behind and make a play. But when you do that, you lose the angles, and on that play, the angles beat him.
Boyce Green replaces Pruitt, who was shaken up on that last tackle. This is Green, the rookie. Oh, he looks ready to play. He's to the 33-yard line. A number 11 draft choice from Carson Newman College. Boyce Green near a first down.
Chance to take another look at this play from a different spot on the field. You can kind of feel how the backs feel when they line up in that Cleveland backfield. Green gets a good block right there from Babb, the center, and breaks a little bit of tackling on his own. That's the kind of problem. Tackling has been a problem for the Jets defense. They don't like to see those broken tackles, Dick.
Merlin, it's 3rd down and inches. Johnny Davis, 38, and Green, 30, in the backfield behind Sipe. Green able to twist forward. They had him trapped in the backfield as Lance Mel, dogging, had guessed the right hole.
It appeared that Mel had stopped that play in the backfield, but no question about it, Green really wants to lunge through there and pick that first down up. I believe he got it.
Well, they'll measure to make it official. We've played about 5 minutes here in Cleveland. Let's go to NFL 83.
Okay, thank you, Dick. Dan Marino's first pass as a starter in Miami. Moments ago, it's tipped and intercepted by Steve Freeman of Buffalo. Tough start for Marino. Scoreless in Miami. All right, Dick and Merlin, back to you.
All right, Len Berman, busy man, involved with the baseball playoffs, the National League last night in Philadelphia, now back at NFL 83. Congratulations to all our men and women involved in the American and National League playoffs, and good luck to Baltimore and to Philadelphia in the upcoming World Series. It's a first down for Cleveland. No, it is not. It's 4th down and inches as Green did not make it, and Rutigliano will gamble. Johnny Davis burrowing forward, and with that last lunge, the Browns feel they have it.
Sam Rutigliano has only gone twice during this early season, during the early part of the season. That's his second shot at 4th and 1, and they have indeed made it on both occasions, it would appear.
Yes. So it's been a time-consuming drive for the Browns with the opening kickoff. 7:45 remaining in the first quarter. The Jets haven't had the ball yet.
And that's the kind of ball control that the Seattle Seahawks used against the Jets to beat them just a few weeks ago. Running the ball, taking the clock, keeping the Jets offense off the field.
From the 32-yard line, Mike Pruitt back in the game, slides inside the 30. Short yardage, Kenny Neal from Iowa State playing at defensive end, made the tackle. Let's go back to Klecko inside, Merlin.
You talked about the adjustment. It's a big adjustment to go from defensive end to defensive tackle, but perhaps even a bigger adjustment to go from the left side to the right side. Klecko on that particular play lined up right on Babb's shoulder, and you saw Babb using tremendous power, just blew Joe Klecko right out of there. And Klecko, of course, a very powerful player, but they're really high on Mike Babb. They feel that he is going to be one of the great centers in this league.
Brian Sipe, they had 2 delay of game penalties last week, and they were slow getting organized this time. The crowd sensing that 30 seconds ticking away let Sipe know he finally was forced to call a timeout. No score, 6:49 left first quarter.
Shades of Mean Joe Green, and look how Joe Klecko has lined up slanting to the inside on Mike Babb. But watch the way number 61 Babb turns him right back outside, making room for Pruitt inside. Good play by the center, and Klecko out of that particular play.
Babb is from Texas, a 5th-round draft pick a year ago, and Rutigliano feels he's a future all-star. He's 6'4" and 270. He's replaced Tom DeLeon. Second down, 8 from the 30. That's Newsome in motion. Complete to Harry Holt. He's to the Jet 24-yard line. He'll be short of the first down. Lance Mell made the tackle after a 6-yard pickup. Holt, who was recruited in essence out of the Canadian Football League. As you see Mike Pruitt, they're attending. He had the wind knocked out of him. Now they're looking apparently maybe a possible rib injury. Holt was entertained by some 10 NFL teams, and the Browns were able to win him into a brown and orange uniform. He's paid some dividends already. Caught that big 48-yard touchdown in overtime to beat the San Diego Chargers.
He must have hurt his ribs, Dick. That's a rib cinch that they're going to put around him. He was having trouble catching his breath. Oh, batted down.
Lance Mell making the defensive play as he shot through and fly swatted Sipe's pass right back in his face.
Mell has 2 interceptions on the year and is the big play linebacker from this Jet configuration. You saw it right there, sticking himself right in the middle of the play and knocking it down. Sipe has trouble with his height. He's listed at 6'1", but I would contest that. I don't think he really gets over 6 feet. You saw Mell just knocking it away on that particular play.
So it's 4th down and a very long yard. As you can see, the yardsticks across the way. It's more than a yard, but Rutigliano is not going to try the field goal into the wind. Double right formation. And they run the other way to Green, and he is not going to make it. A flag is down as Ken Troy, 48, came up from strong safety to tackle Green. Now it's a matter of whether or not a penalty will give the Browns a first down. Apparently it will not, and the Jets take over.
Kenny Troy last week, an interesting note from the Jets indicating that the 2 safeties.
Number 82 declined the penalty. First down the other way.
Between the 2 safeties, Troy and Darrell Ray, they had 1 assisted tackle in all that game last week.
Well, that's when your linebackers in line are really doing the
line
job.
and linebackers really stomping them.
That's rocking chair for the safety men. So no score. The Jets finally get the ball. Joe Walton, 47 years of age, former baseball catcher and a pretty good one in his youth. Still uses that look as the head coach along the sidelines. Jets have the ball for the first time after the Browns 9 minutes 6 seconds to nothing as they went 17 plays only to be stopped at the 25. This is Crutchfield A pickup of about 5 yards for the second year back from Iowa State. Clay Matthews, 57, made the tackle. That was a long time consuming drive, but the Browns came up empty.
That's certainly painful when you control the football that way and get down into what should be scoring territory. And you got to wonder, is the wind really that strong? Of course, it is gusting here, and there are all kinds of wind levels in this stadium. Don Cockcroft, who used to kick here, said there are about 4 different levels of wind. You get it in the right level, and you get a great pun off.
6 yards for Crutchfield, 2nd and 4. Crutchfield again, and a big hole. He has a first down out across the 35-yard line. Larry Brazil, number 47, made the tackle. We understand that Pruitt, they're still working on that bruised rib, and he may not return, and that could be tremendously critical to the Cleveland cause.
Well, Dick, you talked about his carries, 80% of their running game. They're really missing.
Richard Todd, the quarterback, with Durkin and Crutchfield in the backfield. The wide receiver Wesley Walker, second in the league in catches and first in touchdowns. Gaffney, 2 tight ends, Barkham and Schuler when they go to that set. Ward, Pellegrini, Fields, Alexander, and Powell, the offensive line, one of the best in the NFL. Here's Pruitt, and it looks as if he's on his way to the locker room. Yes. So Mike Pruitt, the leading rusher for the Browns and in the American Conference, bruised early in this game, and the fans here in Cleveland have to be fearful that they've lost their top offensive threat. And Rutigliano said it many times yesterday to us, Merlin, you've got to run it first, you've got to stop the run first, and that may well stop the Cleveland running game, that injury. Todd flips it to Augustiniak, who is stopped at the 44, shy of the first down by Brazil. Augustiniak, like Pruitt, from Purdue University.
Augustiniak getting up rather rockily there, but there is a great advantage to mixing your backs.
Defense for the Browns, rookie Reggie Kemp. Bob Golick, he's become the leader of the defense with Keith Baldwin. 3-4 alignment. Linebackers are outstanding. Banks, Ambrose, Cousineau, and Matthews, basically all number 1 picks except for Ambrose. Brazil and Dixon at the corners. Burrell and Whitwell, a converted wide receiver, at safety. 3rd down and 5. Bruce Harper, and the 3rd down specialist delivers again. He's across the 50 with a first down. 8 yards for Harper, who had 118 on Monday night.
Now, when you lose an all-pro running back, it's nice to be able to reach back into your back pocket and pull out the likes of Bruce Harper. What an exciting player he is. He just is dynamite.
What did Joe Walton after the game Monday night in Buffalo? He handed out the awards after the game. He said, we'll give him Bruce Harper our You Got Back Just in Time award.
He certainly did, coming off the injured reserve list.
Only Crutchfield behind Todd. First down inside Cleveland territory. Boy, he's a powerful back. 4 or 5 rounds had a shot at him before he finally is stopped at the 46-yard line. The Jets have not had good first quarters this year, but right now let's go to New York and NFL 83.
Thank you, Dick.
Moments ago in Houston, a long Steve DeBerg drive for Denver. Here he is rolling out, throwing to tight end Ron Egloff. It's 7-0 Broncos as Elway sits. Back to Cleveland.
All right, Len, here no score with 3 minutes and 15 seconds left in the first quarter. 2nd down and 7 for the Jets at the Browns' 46-yard line. Quickie to Walker. They're playing him with plenty of respect, and that allows Walker to pick off the pass and easily gain the first down at the Cleveland 36. 13-yard play.
Certainly one of the things you look for is how much room a defense is giving your wide man. And in Wesley's case, I don't blame him for giving him room, but you take advantage of that a couple of times quickly. You force the defenders to tighten up, and then you can go deep on them, Dick.
Well, you saw that graphic. Merlin, 5 touchdowns in 5 games for Walker. The Jets have scored only 7 points in the first quarter this year, giving up 34. So they'd like to get ahead early. They've not been able to do that. Harper.
Whoa. Look at him. Wow.
Bruce Harper, only 177 pounds of dynamite from Kutztown State. A free agent pick 11 yards and a first down.
If you're on the defensive side of the line, you watch it back with quick feet, with body control, with strength much beyond his size, running through a tackle right there. Hanford Dixon, 29, finally got out there and boxed him in. But that's brilliant running, and that's the kind of plays he put together last week to help his team get by the Buffalo Bills.
Clint Burrell came up under a full head of speed. He's much heavier, and it was Harper who ran over him, and Burrell leaves the game. Jets on an impressive drive. 2 minutes left in the first quarter. No score. Crutchfield. 52, Ambrose. And then 56, Chip Banks to finish him off. Other scores in the NFL. New Orleans has scored first on a 23-yard field goal against Atlanta. As we told you. Well, first, Washington takes an early lead. John Riggins, a 17-yard rumble. And as you just heard, DeBerg to Egloff, and Denver leads 7-0. This is the 10th play of the drive, as you see Burrell along the sidelines. He does not appear to be seriously injured. 2nd and 6. Todd back to Crutchfield. And he's near the 16-yard line. It'll be short of a first down. Chip Banks, #1 draft pick from Southern California, made the tackle.
Banks, an outstanding athlete, has been moved from the weak side linebacking position to a strong side backing position. Won't get quite as many big plays in that spot, but certainly can use his great strength more effectively.
Defense versus the run. Cleveland has done a good job shutting out some outstanding runners. Warner had a good day for Seattle last week. Crutchfield, he's nailed right at the 15. That's going to be very close to a first down.
Interesting decision here for Joe Walton. He has gambled a number of times. In fact, he's gone on 4th and 1 10 times during this season. I think that's probably high in the NFL. I don't think anybody's done more.
Now Brown, Minnesota, Sims of the Lions, Alexander, Cincinnati, Muncie of the Chargers, Warner, Seattle. They've kept the top runner under 100. It's short of the first down. 4th down in inches, and again, Walton goes for it.
Chip Banks just blowing in from the outside. He'll come from the right side of your screen, and he just knifes the legs right out from underneath. The back, Scott Durking. Boy, that is outstanding linebacking.
And the end of a scoreless first quarter. Chip Banks. There's a lot of love for this man in Cleveland. As a rookie, he was brilliant, the most valuable player as judged here in Cleveland. And he's made a big stop. The Browns take over. We open the second quarter. Browns ball at their own 17. Sipe off play action going deep. And Ozzie Newsome has it at the 45-yard line. 28-yard play.
Ozzie Newsome getting a chance to operate in the open on that play, and Brian Sipe able to find him. Sipe getting a lot of pressure at the last moment from number 99, Mark Gastineau. Watch Gastineau out of the corner of your eye there. But that's a look at the tight spiral on that pass. Gastineau coming from the top of your screen now, fighting with Cody Rison, goes inside Klecko. Klecko fighting with Joe DeLamielleure. And you see right there, you see Gastineau avoiding the contact, trying to avoid the 15-yard penalty.
45-yard line, first down Cleveland, no score, opening the second quarter. Sipe. And Newsome pays after a very short gain. Bobby Jackson, 40, coming up to make the hit. Sipe now is 5 for 8. One of the startling statistics going into this game, Merlin Olsen, if someone said, who's thrown the ball more? What quarterback leads the NFL in passes attempted? What would you have said?
Well, you would have said Dan Fouts,
I think everyone would have. But Dan Fouts is second. He's third. He's third to these two teams. Sipe, actually, that is a passing offense. But in passing attempts, Sipe is number 1, Todd is number 2, and Fouts is number 3.
I think, though, if Todd had been able to, or if if Fouts had played the whole game against the Jets, he would probably be number 1.
Second down, 7. Almost intercepted, but it's interference against Jackson. It looked like Jackson from this angle was trying to go for the ball, but the official who has the other angle on the far side saw early contact.
Well, certainly you've got to have time to throw that
Defense
pass.
pass interference number 40. That's a first down.
Bobby Jackson doesn't agree. Let's you judge.
Getting down on the line of scrimmage, you see Cody Rison working on the top, getting some help from Boyce Green right there. You won't see the contact here, but you can see Jackson coming over the top. Chance to look at the protection again as they gave Sipe time. You see Green helping on the top. Joe DeLamielleure working on Klecko, number 73.
First down at the Jets 47. Trying to hit Bobby Jones, who did have a step on Jerry Holmes. It was interesting before the game. Bobby Jones, a former Jet, he was traded here for number 8 pick in the summer. And every defensive back for the Jets, as they came on the field for warm-up, went to Jones, shook hands, kidded him, bumped him around as if to say, we're going to be after you today. But Jones did have a step on that play, and Sipe, throwing with the wind, tried to go long.
Might be a few questions as to whether they should have taken a field goal with the wind, too, Dick.
First quarter, the Lions had the early lead against Green Bay, 7-0. Second and 10. Green, and the rookie is all the way to the 25-yard line.
Just about wiped out one of our cameramen on the sideline, Dick. Interesting that with Pruitt out of the game, and he's gone into the locker room probably for x-rays, you're seeing a young man getting a chance to play who hasn't had many carries. As we indicated, Pruitt has carried the ball 80% of the time. And I think there might be a little letdown on the part of the Jets, who know how important Pruitt was. Crable, number 50, he's in there on passing situations. They expected the pass. Oh, look at the camera and talk about sore ribs. Ooh, right there. Look at the ribs right there. You've got that camera up in the air. That's discipline.
And had to put him on injured reserve. Green had not carried the ball in the first 5 games of this season, but he's contributing that last one for 22 yards, a first down throw. And off the mark was Sipe, trying to find number 80, Willis Adams.
Adams finally getting some playing time here. It's been a disappointment, and we have a flag down on the far side, Dick. Officials talking it over.
That one might go against the offense. Let's see. Waiting for the referee's announcement.
Klecko talking to Drive there on the
Illegal formation on the offense. They did not have an eligible receiver on the end of the line. Decline the penalty. It's second down.
Well, that's what can happen to you. Get all those people moving around. You have to have an eligible receiver on the end of the line. Now, he can be split way out, but he must be on the end of the line.
So what happened here, they had a tackle, was the only man on one end. They had all their receivers at the other end. So they had an ineligible man at the end of the line.
Or off the ball. Probably that's what it was, Dick. But any way you cut it, an illegal formation, and they lose the down in essence.
Second and 10. The Browns are driving with the wind. 2 minutes gone, second quarter. It's scoreless. Blitz picked up well. Ozzie Newsome out of bounds. No catch. And Sipe hit as he threw.
Newsome has been finding his way through that secondary, doing a good job. You'll get a chance here to see the shot of Buttle coming in. It's a double blitz by the linebackers. Mel from the outside, and it was Mel, I believe, that hit Sipe just as he threw. But there's the shot of Newsome, 1 foot in and a 2nd foot out. You'll get a better look at it here. Good play. Johnny Lynn covering him. 1 foot in, 2nd foot outside, official right on the line.
Third down and 10 for Cleveland at the Jets 25. Dwight Walker, the only back. down the middle, open, and a first down to Willis Adams at the 9-yard line.
16 yards on the pickup to number 80, Willis Adams. Sipe is getting to them. He's chewing holes in that Jet secondary. He's also throwing the ball, it seems, just a fraction late. His receivers are taking a pretty good beating down there because that ball is arriving a second too late, and they're really taking some pops.
And so far, Cody Rison does have Mark Gastineau waltzing and not dancing. Other scores, Buffalo, an early lead at Miami, 7-0 in the first quarter. And as we told you, Detroit leading Green Bay 7-0 first period. Here no score, but the Browns first and goal at the 9. Intercepted by Holmes. He might go all the way at the 30 and tackled at the 37-yard line. Boyce Green saved a touchdown for Cleveland, and Sipe shaken as he threw the ball. He was nailed. So the Browns come up empty again as Sipe is intercepted, and the Browns are fortunate this was not a touchdown for the Jets.
Certainly fortunate, but that's twice that they have marched the ball all the way down the field only to come up empty. Ball right in the hands of Ozzie Newsome. He simply let it bounce out. Jerry Holmes takes it down the sideline and almost broke it away.
34-yard return to the 37, still no score.
Once it was hard to find good-looking
And
slugs.
Sipe shaken on that pass interception. It appears they're working on his knee, Merlin
They're
Olsen.
looking at his knee. I think what happened, Dick, is he becomes just another defensive man on an interception, and somebody peeled back and knocked him down. Maybe twisted his leg a little bit, but he got off under his own power, and they're having a little conference down there. Let's hope that's not a serious injury.
Browns have already lost Mike Pruitt with bruised ribs in this first half. Richard Todd takes over at the 36-yard line after the Holmes interception. Gaffney out of bounds at the 45-yard line. Derek Gaffney, 9-yard gain. Chip Banks made the hit. The Jets and Browns, it's been an unusual game in this respect. This is only the 4th possession. The Browns have had it twice, 2 long drives that have failed to score, and the Jets' only previous possession, they had the ball 6 minutes, went 12 plays, only to be stopped on 4th down on Chip Banks' tackle. So 0-0 under 12 minutes left first half. Crutchfield,
wow,
plows to the 47-yard line. You know, Merlin, when Crutchfield became a starter at Iowa State, there are unusual circumstances in which a man finally wins a job, but I never heard of this one before. Back in 1980, the Crutchfield 45, as you see him, the man starting in front of him was sick and threw up in the huddle, and they got him out of there and put Crutchfield in. The other man got healthy, but Crutchfield stayed.
Well, he picked up a big 8-yard gain on that play, and he took a lot of the Browns with him as he marched down.
Paul McDonald, the backup quarterback to Sipe, although Retigliano calls them both starting quarterbacks. Crutchfield.
Whoa.
And he again shows his power. He's hit, gets a couple more yards afterwards. Tom Cousineau, 50. 57 Matthews teamed up on the stop.
Crutchfield indicating the official that somebody tackled him by the face mask there and upset him. He's had a little bit of a weight problem. Last year, played over 240 pounds. They've tried to keep him at about 230, and that's not easy. He is a very big man. 30-inch thighs on that running back.
7 carries for 32 yards. Crutchfield goes out. Harper and Durking are now the backs behind Todd on 2nd and 6. Harper squeaks through for a yard or two to about the 41-yard line. So it'll be 3rd down and 4 for the Jets when we return first to New York. This update on NFL 83.
Moments ago in Miami, Joe Ferguson is quarterback for the Bills. He goes back to pass, finds Byron Franklin, who beats Mike Kozlowski, the Dolphins. First NFL touchdown for Franklin. 7-0 now, Buffalo. Let's go back to you, Dick.
All right, Lance. Long faces in Miami. They lost last week, and an early touchdown for Buffalo today. This is a 3rd and 4 for Todd. Incomplete. The ball was there to Jerome Barkham, the Dean Emeritus of the Jets offense, the 12-year veteran, unable to hang on as Clinton Burrell, 49, knocked it free. And once again, the Jets, as it has been with the Browns, are stopped.
The blitz is on. Cousineau, number 50, getting to Todd right there. Todd got the ball away and got it into Barkham's hands, but Barkham could not put it away, and it was knocked down, ruled incomplete.
First punt of the game, Ramsey to kick. Dino Hall, little 5'7" return man, back at the Browns 10, kicking into the wind. You see the effect.
Oh boy.
Hall fair catching, and a very alert play by Hall. He comes up to the 18-yard line.
I don't think I'd want to be down there trying to catch those today. That one just died.
25-yard punt, no return. Timeout here at Cleveland Stadium. 9 minutes, 42 seconds left. First half, Jets and Cleveland, no score.
Make your move to Chevrolet's new Celebrity. Move into the comfort of more passenger room than 98 out of 101 imports. Move into Celebrity and the traction of front drive. Try to find any other front drive automobile that gives you more passenger room for less. Chevrolet. And you.
Taking charge.
Seguin, Texas, and Milwaukee.
Well, Sipe works on that injured knee. Paul McDonald, number 16, takes over at quarterback. 4-year man from Southern California. He's done a good job in previous opportunities with the Browns. They feel he is the quarterback of their future. Gives the boy screen, and of course McDonald will be operating without the services of Mike Pruitt, injured in the first quarter.
One of the luxuries that Sam Rutigliano has is the two-quarterback opportunity, that he go to his right-hander, or in this case his left-hander. Just goes right to the bullpen, bring in the left-hander. Here he got him.
Well, McDonald was an A student, an honor student at Southern California, and some feel that this complicated offense will not bother him, that he's picking it up rapidly. 2nd and 8. From the Browns 21, McDonald's first throw to Green, picks up about 3. McDonald in the first 5 games threw only 1 pass, and that was intercepted. Jerry Holmes made the tackle. Other action in the NFL. Buffalo leading 7-0 at Miami, second quarter. New Orleans and Atlanta tied at 3 in the second. Second period, Washington and St. Louis at St. Louis are tied at 7. Denver and Houston, same score, same period. Minnesota leads Chicago 7-0. Green Bay trails Detroit 10-0 in the first quarter. And here, no score in Cleveland, the Jets and the Browns, and 8:25 left in the first half. 3rd and 5 for McDonald and the Browns at their own 24. He's hit just as he throws, incomplete the result. Klecko and Gastineau were sandwiching McDonald.
3-man rush. Gastineau coming from the outside, working again on Cody Rison. You see Klecko breaking the pocket up inside. No place for McDonald to step. No room there, and Gastineau finally crunches him to the ground.
Mike Harmon, number 23, drifts back for the Jets at the 34-yard line. Jeff Gossett's first punt. Gossett, former Kansas City Chief, was not drafted as a football player out of Eastern Illinois, but was by the Mets as a baseball third baseman outfielder. Played a couple years of minor league ball. He hits this one with the wind. Harmon at the 25. The rookie to the 36-yard line. Now the Jets have it again. As Gossett with a 53-yard punt and 8-yard return. Willis Adams made the tackle. The Jets have the ball. 8 minutes remaining in the first half. Jets nothing, Cleveland nothing.
York and Gifford Nielsen at quarterback for the Oilers. The shotgun. The blitz from Denver. He will throw to the AFC's leading receiver, Tim Smith. He is gone, but it's now 10-7 Denver. Back to you, Dick and Merlin.
All right, Len, Tim Smith, what a year he's having for the Oilers. Here, no score. Jets have the ball at their own 36-yard line. And Crutchfield Short yardage as Schuler in motion tried to lead through the hole. Clay Matthews, 57, plugged it. From some solid heritage. His dad, Clay, a 49er player in the 50s, and a brother, Bruce, #1 pick of the Oilers.
Down on the line of scrimmage, number 60, Dan Alexander, doing a great job of blocking on Golick as he's double teamed to the inside. Alexander consistently grades out at the end of the season with higher grades than any of his more publicized lineman compatriots. Hasn't had the publicity they have, but certainly has the respect of the defenses around the league.
Well, we'll watch that right guard, Alexander. 2nd and 8. Harper, and a fine open field tackle by Dick Ambrose, a veteran from Virginia. Harper, if he gets away from Ambrose, has some yardage outside, but Ambrose holds him to about a 3-yard gain. This telecast presented by authority of the National Football League, intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Cleveland Browns and the National Football League is prohibited.
I love that nickname. He earned the nickname Bam Bam. What a great nickname for a linebacker.
3rd down, a long 5. Gaffney right at the yardsticks at the 46. It appears he has a 1st down. They needed 5. Gaffney has 6.
Alexander not only has to block the 4-man line, but occasionally on the 3-man line, he's an alternate pickup man. He's looking for someone to break loose, but his other friends are doing a good job. No one to block on that play, but you saw how his head was on a swivel. He's looking for anybody to break loose, and his job is to go and get them.
From LSU, Alexander, a teammate of A.J. Dewey, Miami Dolphins star. 1st down. Harper to the 48-yard line of the Browns, a gain of 5. Cousineau, a wealthy inside linebacker of the Browns, the $1 million man, made the tackle.
Excellent shot inside as you watch Alexander again. Reggie Camp, exciting young rookie. They're very high on here. Reggie just stacked him up. Joe Fields, number 65, came out to help. Let's watch the pass play. Now you'll see a blitz by number 52, Ambrose, on the outside. He blows right through a couple of blockers there. Pass right on target to Harper. Boy, he has good hands.
2nd down, 5 from the 48 of Cleveland. Good play action. It didn't fool Chip Banks. Another big defensive play for Banks.
7 yards on the loss. Banks absolutely ran right through Jerome Barkham to get at the quarterback. And watching Richard Todd on his play action passes, watch his head. Now you see his head dip there. He's gotten into a habit of dipping his head on his play action passes, and I don't know if those linebackers can read it that quickly, but he does not do that when he hands off on a regular running play.
Almost like a pitcher tipping off his curveball by some mannerism. Now, you defensive lineman, you saw those things, huh?
You look for them.
Under pressure, Todd. The ball was there, but Lamb Jones could not pull it in. That was a good throw. Jones in a crowd could not pull it in.
That'll make you have some gray hairs if you're a coach. Should have been a completion. Todd read the defense, knew where the open man was. Good protection, got it off on time, got it right into Lamb Jones's hands right there. I think Jones may have been hearing some footsteps. He's not a big man, not a big receiver, but he did not catch a ball he should have had in his hands easily.
Ramsey just did get it away, and Hall, fair catch at the Browns' 26-yard line. Well, to match the number on his uniform, little Dino. 4 minutes and 29 seconds left in this first half, and still no score. Browns have the ball at their 26-yard line, and Brian Sipe is back in to quarterback them. There are his numbers for today. 1 interception down at the goal line, returned by Jerry Holmes, 34 yards, to deny the Browns the best chance to score today. Boyce Green. And he's whiplashed down by Gastineau. Gastineau, a reserve bit of gesticulation for him.
I think he'd like to have this crowd down on him. He seems to respond to having everybody chasing him.
If you were a teammate of Gastineau, would you tell him to dance or not dance?
I don't particularly appreciate the dance, but if he had the dance to play well and he was playing next to me, I'd say do whatever you have to do. But it's not something that I was particularly fond of when I played, and I still don't like it. I'd rather let the crowd decide if it's a good play or a bad one.
2nd down and 10. Sipe to Holt. He can get up and run and picks up another 4 before Lance Mell can make the tackle. And Jerry Holmes is angry about what he feels was a push by one of the receivers the other side of the field. 8 yards for Holt, and it'll be 3rd and 2.
Holt, surprising speed for a big man. Was a sprinter, wasn't he, Dick, when he was in high school?
Indeed he was. 100-yard state champion. I believe he grew up Arizona. 4.57 40. That's right with Gastineau.
Not quite as big as Gastineau.
On 3rd and 3, Sipe. Bobby Jones with a valiant effort, but Darrell Ray had a piece of the ball and of Jones, and he just couldn't get that arm out there long enough. Good play by Ray.
But Sam Rutigliano was very concerned about the passing lanes, and these are the passing lanes he wanted to worry about. But he was thinking about a 4-man line. This is the 3-man line that they're using. You see the 2 linebackers, Buttle on the left and Crable on the right. And because the 3-man line, you're getting a little bit more room to see downfield. Sipe does not see well against that big 4-man rush.
Gossett's kick again with the wind.
Wow.
Harmon. Oh, this is going to be a beauty to the 6-yard line. Down by Al Gross. And to Gossett's good fortune, his 2 punts have come with the wind. Ramsey's 2 against the wind. 61 yards for Gossett. That is his best kick of the season. And we have a timeout at 2:38. A GMC, a truck you can live with. By Heineken. Come to think of it, have a Heineken. And by the Texas Instruments home computer, creating useful products and services for you. Officially, the ball was down at the 8-yard line, so credit Gossett with a 59-yard punt. Still the longest of his career here in Cleveland. And Todd from the 8. Crutchfield for 5 yards before Matthews and Cousineau can embrace him. And that is interesting because the Jets now have had 10 first down plays, and they have averaged 5 yards on those 10 and 5 on that one.
They haven't had any trouble moving the football. What they've had trouble doing is getting it into the end zone.
Well, they have a timeout to think it over. They'll return to Cleveland, where it's scoreless in the first half. 2.5 minutes left in the first half. Tigliano, 51-year-old head coach and vice president now of the Cleveland Browns. 2nd and 5. The Browns called that timeout, so they have only 1 left in this half. 2 minutes, 30 seconds left before the intermission. Todd deep in his own end at the 13 to Crutchfield. Oh, running through tackles. Crutchfield to the 18-yard line. Appears he has a first down. And out of bounds to stop the clock with 2:23 left in the half. Jets and Cleveland, no score, but they're scoring elsewhere. Let's go to NFL 83.
Thank you, Dick Enberg. They're also turning the ball over elsewhere. Rookie Dan Marino for the Dolphins, trailing Buffalo 14-0. He's intercepted for the 2nd time. So will we soon see Don Strock at quarterback. Back to Cleveland.
Jets did not get the first down on Crutchfield's spirited carry. He got 4, so it's 3rd and 1. Todd sneaking, and he doesn't get a thing. Oh, my. That's twice on short yardage. The Browns have overpowered the Jets line. They spot it for a yard loss.
58, Scott Nicholas, the man that just speared him from the inside there, coming over the top. But that was
Elvis Franks, 94.
Elvis Franks, 94. Hard to see who it was, but Franks coming underneath. They just didn't move him. That's Pellegrini on that side. Pellegrini is the guard over there, and he's had an injury. He's got a thigh injury. He just did not even get to Franks. Franks blew inside and knocked Todd right on his back with some help from Nicholas.
Not close. The Browns have held again. And they're going to get the ball with plenty of time left in the half. And again, Ramsey has to punt against the wind.
Certainly does. Now you see why the Browns called that timeout, but they wish they had not had to call a timeout offensively. This cuts down their options now as they move their offensive team onto the field.
Ramsey will probably let the clock run down to the 2-minute mark. It's at 2:05 right now. There's no need to kick it, and he doesn't. There's the whistle, and the 2-minute timeout has been given. As Ramsey prepares to kick, 22 punts this year have been returned, but only an average of 4.9 per return. That's one of the best records in the NFL. No score. We'll be right back.
Etna, I'm glad.
Cavernous Cleveland Stadium. No score. The Jets and Browns. NFL 83 coming up. The scores, outstanding plays. We'll run down the scores for you in just a moment. But right now, Chuck Ramsey into a 10-man rush. Dino Hall, anticipating a short kick, has creeped inside the 50-yard line. Ramsey. And it's a fair catch. Hall at the 46-yard line of the Jets. That was a good kick, and the wind just knocked it down. Other scores after that 37-yard punt. Buffalo leading by 2 touchdowns at Miami. New Orleans and Atlanta still tied at 3 in the second. Washington 21, St. Louis 7 in the second quarter. Denver has a 10-point lead, 17-7. Minnesota and Chicago tied at 7 in the second. And Detroit hungry for a win. The Lions have a 17-0 lead over Green Bay in the second quarter. Here, no score. But the Browns, with 1:53 left and 1 timeout, have the ball at the 46, and Sipe with the wind at his back. Plenty of time. Good protection. What a catch by Bobby Jones at the 40, but the clock continues to run. 6 yards on the play. 1:36, 1:35 left.
Calling the audible in his 2-minute drill right here. Moving his linemen around, moving Ozzie Newsome to the right. Now he's got him going back the other way.
123, 122. That may have been a costly catch, although a brilliant one by Jones. It cost a lot of time. Jones again to the 29-yard line, 11-yard gain and a first down. And with the wind, you have to figure they're now in field goal range. Exactly 1 minute left.
You've got to believe that Sipe is holding that last timeout in case he needs to stop the clock to get the field goal team out there.
With 50 seconds. 47 seconds. A draw play and a fumble, and Sipe alertly falls on it. Now there's where you miss Mike Pruitt.
That's exactly right. Pruitt, a great draw running fullback. And Boyce Green in there just did not get that football properly as Sipe came back. Sipe knew it. He felt it, and he dove back in there and picked it up.
So now time, 34 seconds. They can't use that timeout. Boy, how costly it was when the Browns had to call a timeout earlier in the game because of some confusion. 25 seconds left. Going long. Oh, my! Touchdown, Bobby Jones! An acrobatic touchdown catch by the former Jet Bobby Jones.
Play that Bobby Jones went to sleep last night dreaming about making. He comes right back and absolutely shocks his ex-teammates into silence. Sipe getting time, getting a good protection cup right there from his offensive line, drills it down the middle, but you just can't afford to let the receivers get behind you on that kind of situation, Dick.
And Matt Barr tacks on the extra point. One of the outstanding catches of this young season. Oh, Bobby Jones, and the Browns lead by 7. Bobby Jones, he attended Youngstown and Millikan colleges. Briefly, never received his degree, so he always announces himself as Bobby Jones from Texaco Tech. He was a former Jet for 4 years, and he just burned his former teammates with a brilliant catch at 7-0. And with the win, Barr finds The Jets taking the touchback. Well, he has won the favor of owner Art Modell of the Cleveland Browns, not only with his play, but the fact that he's a ticket buyer. He buys 40 tickets for every home game. He wants his fans and friends to be here.
Well, he's a fine young man. You saw him lock eyes with some of his teammates across the line, and that had to be a good feeling for him. He felt that he needed a chance to play more football. Came here, and Sam Rutigliano has indeed given him that opportunity. And the Jets, with all their injury problems earlier, were sorry that they had ever traded that young man away.
The Jets, who have seemed to battle the wind every time they have the ball, are fighting the wind now from their 20. And with 17 seconds left, Todd says, I'm not going to take a chance on a fumble. That will be the end of the first half. The Cleveland Browns, one big play by Bobby Jones, a diving touchdown, and the underdog Browns take the lead into the locker room at the intermission. This sellout crowd of nearly 80,000 at Cleveland Stadium cheering their favorites off the field. Jones' acrobatic catch gives Cleveland the lead at halftime, 7-0.
Tough first half for the Browns. Mike Pruitt going out with an injury, and later Sipe was roughed up a bit. The Jets stopping the Browns on 4th and 1 after holding the ball for the first 9 minutes. Now Sipe was roughed up a bit here when this pass was intercepted by Jerry Holmes near the goal line and returned all the way out to the 36-yard line. But it was scoreless. 19 seconds remaining. You will not see a more gorgeous play than this one. Sipe to the ex-Jet Bobby Jones touchdown. 7-0 Browns, 32 yards. That's where we are at halftime. In Miami, a big surprise here. The Bills 14-0 over the struggling Dolphin offense. It's the worst passing offense in the NFL. That's why Marino got the start. But Buffalo has done it through the air. Joe Ferguson, the man. 9-yard touchdown pass to Byron Franklin, second-year player out of Auburn. And then in the second quarter, Ferguson, same thing to Franklin. His first 2 NFL touchdowns. 1-2, just like that, 14-0. Now, Dan Marino intercepted the first time he threw the ball this afternoon, and here again. So a very tough start for Marino, taking over for Woodley. Maybe we'll see Strzok for Don Shula before it's all over. 14-0 second quarter. New Orleans, 3-0. Saints, now it's 3-3. Falcons have just tied it up. Washington, 21-7 over the Cards, 2 touchdowns for John Riggins. Now, Denver, Houston, that score. Denver, 20-7. The hapless Houston Oilers, they are 0-5. And Steve DeBerg combined on a pretty touchdown pass to Steve Watson. And it looks like Houston's going 0-6. Bill McAdee has more for us.
Lenny, Minnesota and Chicago, Soldier Field. This is a bit of a surprise because of the way this ball game has developed. The Vikings came in today 26th in the league in rushing, but Darren Nelson scored on a 56-yard touchdown run, the longest of his career. And Walter Payton, after an Otis Wilson interception of a Steve Dills pass, has tied it up on a 1-yard touchdown run in a ball game where defensive tackle Steve Bam Bam McMichael from the University of Texas is doing the kicking off because Bob Thomas has a sore back. Detroit and Green Bay, this is the surprise of the day. The Lions lead this ball game 17-0. 2 touchdown runs by rookie running back James Jones, 1 yard and 13 yards. And New England has scored on a Steve Grogan pass. 7-0 New England over Baltimore. Bob Trumpy joins us today. Bob, are you a little bit surprised at the score of the Cleveland Jets ball game, a defensive ball game at this point?
Bill, very much so. I think a lot of people expected now with Cleveland without Mike Pruitt that the defense is going to have to rise to the occasion. But in the first half, they stopped the New York Jets 4th and 1. And I noticed that they had Chip Banks over there. It appeared to me the offense of the New York Jets in short yardage situations very predictable. The New York Jets, their only pressure on Brian Sapp came from a 3-man front, not a 4-man front. And they're using more blitzes than I've seen them use so early in a football game. I'm very surprised at what's happening in Cleveland.
Okay, 7-0 Cleveland. Lenny, I've never felt so short in my life.
All right, nice to have the big tight end here. Now, in the Orange Bowl, moments ago, Woody Bennett has just punched it over from the 1, his first touchdown of the year, so Miami has closed to within 14-7 of Buffalo. That's it for now from New York. We'll have more right after these words from your local station.
New York Jets 7-0. Dick Enberg with Merlin Olsen, and a great play is worth saying once again. Bobby Jones, a former Jet, making that diving circus catch in the end zone, picking it off the grass to give the Browns a celebrated 7-0 lead at halftime. This in the final seconds of the half. Maybe the Jets were looking short.
They may have been looking short, but the Cardinal rule defensively, when the time is running out, you don't let anyone get behind you. No question that they blew the defensive assignments there, let Jones into the end zone, but he had to make a spectacular catch. And as I said earlier, that's the kind of play he dreamed about, I'm sure, last night. Had no idea he was going to live it out today.
Why is it that when you pull out that exceptional, the extraordinary play, that often it's against the team that traded you away?
Dick, so much of this game is emotional. A lot of it is physical, but it's that edge you get emotionally. They were just excited. Jones was just, he's pumped up for this game. And he used that extra emotion to take advantage on a play like that of his ex-teammates.
Quickly, Joe Walton gambled, did not go for the field goal when he had the wind, and he was stopped by Chip Banks.
4th and 1. Augustiniak took the ball outside and was stopped. Got to believe that may be a play that's going to come back to haunt Joe Walton.
All right, the score then at halftime is the Cleveland Browns 7, the New York Jets nothing. We'll be back at Cleveland Stadium for the second half, right after we pause for these words from your local station. The winds off Lake Erie continue to flutter Old Glory. 25-mile-an-hour gusts, and it's certainly reflected in the kicking game and perhaps more in the passing game than we might realize.
Absolutely shocking numbers. Ramsey has kicked 3 times and averaged 26.7 per kick. He's gone against the wind every time. Gossett, on the other hand, has kicked twice with the wind, that one booming kick, but has averaged 56 yards per kick. Statistics rather interesting. Time of turnover, very important at the bottom. The Browns dominating there. 181 yards total offense. A lot of that, most all of that in passing. Look at the passing yardage for the Jets. Just 34 yards, and yet Todd is 7 for 9.
So he's unable to generate any long passing game, and that's because primarily he was working against the wind whenever the Jets had the ball.
They really had trouble with the wind. The other thing that has not happened in this first half, the Jets have been unable to get to Brian Sipe or McDonald in his brief time on the field. But really, Dick, the only play of consequence for the Browns, who really didn't get it going, was that long shot that took them into Bobby Jones. And on the other hand, got to believe that there might have been some second guessing going on in the Jets locker room. I think they really thought that they were getting it off to a good start, and maybe we're going to go for that big 7 points down there when they could have had the 3 relatively easily.
Well, the Jets have not played long ball at all. We'll see if Joe Walton will open up that passing game. He'll get the football first to open this second half.
Has Walker caught a pass yet?
He has caught a pass. Remember the sideline, a little quickie.
Short pass to the side in front of the cornerback, but nothing deep. And, of course, he is the long ball threat for Joe Walton and that offensive gang.
Lamb Jones, another man with speed who can get deep, but he's not been able to catch a pass in the first half. Had one, but dropped it. So the Jets get it first as Matt Barr tees it up. So the Jets will have the wind in the third quarter. The Browns, with a 7-0 lead, have elected to take the win in the fourth quarter. Preston Brown at the other end as Matt Barr of the Barr brothers from Penn State will kick it off. Preston Brown with Mike Harmon. No, it's Kirk Springs, the other deep back. And leading 7-0. Barr scoots it low, picked off by a lineman at the 25, and out across to the 32-yard line goes Reggie McElroy, the rookie from West Texas State. He said, give me the ball more often. I can lug it. 7 yards on the return. Richard Todd brings his offense onto the field. Dwayne Crutchfield has been his primary back. An injury appears that Twitwell, the defensive safety, has been injured on that kick coverage. He's a starting safety, and that could be a tough loss for the Browns, who are without Mike Pruitt, bruised ribs in the first quarter. While they attend to Whitwell, here is the offensive set for Richard Todd and the New York Jets. Yes, Fields at center. Pellegrini and Alexander the guards. Ward and Powell the tackles. We'll get the rest for you, but with a full timeout, let's pause for these words.
Hi, I'm Marvin Powell of the New York Jets, here on top of the World Trade Center. And out there is the Big Apple, that megalopolis called Greater New York. And do you know what's at the core of the Big Apple? It's people. More than 9 million of them in every direction. They're the heart of what makes this the greatest city in the world. Because no matter where you work or live, there's a united way in your community working for you. United Way supports small agencies like this program for children who have learning disabilities and for children whose diseases don't have telephones named after them. Your United Way support helps them, and so many more. Through your help and the special contributions of the National Football League and its NFL charities, we're able to say, thanks to you, it works for all of us. The United Way.
United Way.
And the preceding announcement furnished as a public service by the National Football League. Let's go back to Whitwell's injury. How did it happen, Merlin?
Whitwell looked like he got his bell rung. Here he is right at the bottom of your screen, right here. Watch him closely now as he closes in on this kick. Reggie McElroy, of course, a big tackle, and he goes right up underneath him, gets his head into Reggie, and then the pile stacks on top of him. Weathers, number 55, 26, Dino Hall, and I believe they just pinched him down underneath. He's holding his hand inside, maybe some ribs, but I think he'll be all right. He's a tough, tough young man.
Now the Jets have the ball to open the second half at the 31-yard line. And Todd, his longest pass has been 10 yards. And he gets about 10 to Wesley Walker out across the 40-yard line before Larry Brazil could bring down Walker, who was juggling that catch. Back to Mike Pruitt, still expected not to play in the second half. Bruised ribs, which sometimes means something more serious than that. He had only 6 yards carrying before the injury, and of course was averaging 97 yards and leading the AFC. 2nd and 1. Todd going with 2 tight ends, Barkham and Schuler. Schuler winged right. Crutchfield, big hole, 50, 45, 43 goes Dwayne Crutchfield before Cousineau and Scott can drag him down. 16 yards for the 232-pound Crutchfield.
Tremendous speed and acceleration by the big back. Running over on the right side behind Marvin Powell. Powell just burying the tackle. Good block by the pulling guard. Good block on the outside by Pellegrini, 62, as he led the play downfield. But that's power running at its best.
At the 43 of Cleveland, first down. Complete to Augustiniak. He's toppled at the 36-yard line after a gain of 7. Mike Augustiniak, a walk-on as a collegiate at Purdue. He was not drafted as a pro. One of those guys you like to have on a football team. I mean, it's a love of his, and he's overcome tremendous odds to make it both at Purdue and here in the NFL.
We talked about Todd wanting to go deep. He had Wesley Walker deep, covered one-on-one by Larry Brazil on that play, but Brazil did a good job of staying with Walker. Todd couldn't get it to him, had to go to the short man.
Harper with Lamb Jones lined up in the backfield, 2nd and 3. And they toss to Lamb Jones. And the world-class sprinter in his days at Texas, Olympic gold medalist, is inside the 30-yard line. An 8-yard carry for Jones, who runs out of a halfback spot.
Now, you do that to try and take advantage of the defense getting used to seeing Jones lining up in that position and shifting outside, which he's done quite often. On that particular play, they line him up while the defense is waiting for the shift. They toss him the football, and he makes a nice gain.
Spot the ball right on the 30-yard line. A linesman's view of this first down play by the Jets. Crutchfield cutting back inside. Boy, and again, he was stopped after 3 and then carried for 3 more. It'll be 2nd and 4.
Clay Matthews, 57. Chip Banks, the bookends for that defense. Jets talk about their bookends and their big defense or offensive tackles, Powell and Ward. Well, they've got their own bookends here in Cleveland, those linebackers.
They spotted at the 25, 2nd and 5. Good protection. And there's Schuler to the 20, to the 19. It's a first down as Mickey Schuler, one of many Penn State graduates on this Jets team, has his first catch of the afternoon and 7 yards.
Jets seeking to create a lot of confusion, moving their tight ends around, using 2 tight ends, and the second tight end, Mickey Schuler, right there, having to fight his way loose from Clay Matthews. When he finally got free, the ball got to him. He did a good job of faking out Dick Ambrose, 52. It was Matthews that came back finally and put the wrap on him.
First down at the 19-yard line. Harper in with Durking. Todd into the end zone. Harper well covered by the veteran Clarence Scott. Todd had a quick choice to make. There was yardage on the scramble, but he thought he might be able to get it to Harper for the touchdown.
Tried to rifle that ball, and it's difficult to throw it accurately on the run. It looked like he was dangerously close to the line of scrimmage. Can't help but feel that if he had run the ball, would have picked up a pretty good gain.
19-yard line, 2nd and 10 for the Jets. This, I believe, is their deepest penetration of the game.
Well, they've been down here before, but they need to put some points at the other end of this drive.
7-0. Cleveland leads. 11 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. Fake draw. Is that a good catch? No. Trapped by Gaffney at the 1-yard line.
Gaffney coming back to the ball. And, of course, Todd not wishing to overthrow that ball as the defenders were behind. Dropped it a little short. Gaffney got there, but the ball came off the ground. We've got a flag, and they're going to walk it off against the Cleveland Browns.
Now, the personal foul, very costly for Cleveland. It takes it down to the 10.
Personal foul, roughing the quarterback. Number 96, defense, first down.
Reggie Camp, the rookie from California, guilty of the rough, and it carries a first down inside the 10.
Camp coming from the left end position. Ball well thrown. He wasn't even close. Must have come in way late to earn himself a 15-yard foul.
So first and goal inside the 10. Harper. Clay Matthews from the backside and a fumble. The Browns' Cousineau has it. And Cousineau is out across the 20. Oh my, the Browns with a big turnover.
Again, Dick, moving the football down the field, but Clay Matthews, just as his counterpart did earlier, putting a big clinch. Watch Matthews, number 57, come from behind the play. He'll come right in behind Harper and swat the ball away right there. Right, his hands right through the football.
Matthews, 57, chasing down Cousineau, alertly getting the loose ball, and Cleveland will have it at the 23 when we return. Recovery to stop the New York Jets drive. The former All-American for Woody Hayes at Ohio State, and the Browns have it at the 23-yard line. Bruce Harper, obviously discouraged. 7-0 Cleveland. Less than 11 minutes remaining in the 3rd quarter. Boyce Green, he's playing for the injured Mike Pruitt, to the 26-yard line, a gain of about 3.
Woodring over there again. He had 7 tackles in the first half of this game, playing extremely well from that middle linebacking position, as he should. That's the position you make the most tackles from out of a 4-3.
Defense for the Jets, Gastineau at left end with Klecko at left tackle, Lyons and Neal. Linebackers Buttle, Woodring, and Mell. Jackson and Holmes at the corners, and Shroy and Ray at safety. Sun breaking through. Sight looking long. Holt is open. 40. 30, 28-yard line, Harry Holt. And Merlin Olsen for Brian Sipe, quite a throw against the wind.
Just going to say the same thing, Dick. He threw it against the wind, picks up 46 yards. I think that's one of the advantages of having played in this stadium as much as he has. He knows what he has to do. He really gunned that football, and Holt still had to wait for it, but he caught it. The defender gambling at the last second. You see Buttle going for the football there. Woodring, number 57, all the way downfield to be a saver on that play.
Greg Buttle made the saving tackle. Jackson was the man who was beaten, went for the interception. Lance Mel makes another Jet tackle. He's led the Jets the last 2 years and leads them in tackles again this year.
Clock ticking away. The Jets are only going to have a little bit of time with the wind left in this quarter, Dick. After they get the football, they need a big turnover here defensively. And, of course, Cleveland would like to sit on the clock, work it down and get some points, take the wind and the clock away from the Jets.
Second down, 11. 8 minutes, 40 seconds left in the third quarter. The Browns lead 7-0. Going long again. Holt! He was open and went right through his hands at the 5-yard line. Johnny Lynn and John Woodring on the coverage. Other scores. Miami on a Woody Bennett run has scored. So it's now Buffalo 14, Miami 7. New Orleans and Atlanta still tied at 3 at the half. Washington a big lead at St. Louis, 24-7. At the half, 20-14, Denver leads at Houston. And at the half, it's Minnesota 10, Chicago 7. Halftime score, Detroit 24, Green Bay nothing. The Lions roaring in Pontiac. 7-0 here. Cleveland leads. Third down, 11. Sipe chased by Ben Rudolph. And Rudolph, a most important sack, because that chased Sipe right out of field goal range.
Sipe disgusted with himself. Again, you wonder if maybe their plan offensively would be different if they had Pruitt in the ballgame. They've come out and gone for the home runs here when perhaps a more placid attack would have helped. But Rudolph running through the defense there. Gastineau coming from the outside, but Rudolph in place of Marty Lyons in there for their first sack of the day, and that was a very big play.
Minus 16 yards on the sack, and now for the first time, Gossett kicking against the wind. Mike Harmon deep for the Jets. Wind blowing into his face. Fair catch, Harmon at the 20-yard line. So what a difference that wind makes. There was a 30-yard difference between the punting averages of the two kickers in the first half, and that was the reflection of one kicking with the wind, one not. Gossett knows now how it feels for Ramsey. I want to send along our sympathies, Merlin and myself and all of us at NBC Sports, to the family of Bob Ledbetter, the Giants coach, former Jets defensive coach, passed away on Friday night.
Very sad for these Jet players. He coached with them last year, and of course with the Giants this year. They loved him. They really cared about him, and both teams have responded by putting together some trust funds for his young son, to make sure he'll be educated properly. A lot of love for that man.
The Jets trailing 7-0, middle of the third quarter. And in the sunshine of Cleveland Stadium, Todd hit from behind, and down he goes. A sack for the Browns, and they almost had the football as well.
Chip Banks, number 56, absolutely going in there and trying to steal that football. Had the sack, but wanted the football so badly. Here he is in the middle of your picture. Watch him come in. He's got Todd dead to rights. He's trying to take the football. Look at that. And Todd said, no, I got it still. I can't. And Banks can't believe that he didn't get that football away from Todd.
Keith Baldwin then got the sack, but Banks, it was almost as if Todd was going to hand it off to him. He saw a touchdown written all over that play. Not fooled a bit as Harper on the draw runs right into Clay Matthews, number 57. It'll be 3rd and 11.
Clay Matthews on the other side. They are indeed bookending that defense, and time ticking off, half the quarter gone, and again the wind's such a strong factor in this ball game. Jets need to do something while they have that advantage here in the third quarter.
3rd down, 11. Game reminiscent, Merlin, of the one that we did in Shea Stadium against the Seahawks, where the Jets just couldn't seem to get anything serious going. Always a mistake or a problem. To Lamb Jones, and Todd may have gone beyond the line of scrimmage. We'll see. There is a flag down. If it counts, Lamb Jones is at the Cleveland 43, and And Todd nearly undressed as he threw the football.
A couple of defenders absolutely stripping his jersey off.
Against the Jets.
Frequently, when a quarterback begins to run that way, offensive linemen come to his aid and find themselves getting downfield. Give the official a chance to call it, but that could be a possibility here, or the one you mentioned of being beyond the line of scrimmage.
Half the distance to the goal line.
Offense, pass interference, number 25.
Okay.
It's against Scott Durking, so it's not only a 38-yard gain called back, it's a 9-yard penalty to the 9, so that results in a 47-yard deficit.
Pass interference for the offenders. That could be just a block by Durking. He's not allowed to block. He may have done that.
So third down and about 20. Complete to Barkham, but only to the 20-yard line, and the Browns will get the ball. Cousineau made the tackle, 11 yards on the play. And this crowd loves the defense here in Cleveland. Dino Hall drifts out to the Browns 38. Ramsey, for the first time, kicks with the whim.
I bet he's pleased about that.
He said this one's for average, and then he scuffs it. Takes a Jets bounce across the 40 and down to the 34-yard line. May have tried to overkick that one with a chance. That healthy wind at his back. 45 yards on the punt, and we have a timeout. The gifted Chip Banks, 56, just moments ago. He was explaining to the rest of his teammates, you wouldn't believe it. I saw it on the scoreboard. I had a touchdown. It was right there. I knew it too. Lamb Jones had a catch and a big gain called back because of the penalty, and now the Browns still protecting a 7-0 lead. Have it at their own 35. Boyce Green for 3 and a flag down. Lance Mel made the tackle.
Now we've got word again from the locker room that Mike Pruitt, although injured and not seriously injured, will not be back at all in this ball game. And I said it earlier, Dick, I think it makes a big difference to what is being done offensively by the Browns, not having his presence on the field. Although they have tried here apparently to go back to the running game and try and eat some clock up, and certainly they'd like to get that wind at their back when they open up the offensive guns again.
Don't see that penalty much anymore, thank goodness. Clipping.
Yeah. Personal foul, illegal crackback on number 89.
Well, actually a crackback, and that's a 15-yard penalty, not a 10. You heard Sipe say 15. Yes, on the personal foul, a chance for injury, and that's costly.
Coming from the outside, those receivers can no longer cut down on the legs of the linebackers. And if you come in there and do that from behind, that is the 15-yard foul, and that's a good penalty to be calling. If it's happening on the field, you want to call it.
And that could put a man out for his career. 25 yards for a first down for Sipe. Lots of time. Now he throws for Logan. What a catch! Oh, my! Darrell Ray then made the tackle of Logan because apparently there was no whistle, and Logan might have been able to get up and run again. Logan thought the play was over, but what a catch by Logan.
Just an absolutely crazy play. Sipe is getting a rush finally up the middle by Rudolph, the only guy that's been in there all afternoon, it seems like. Unloads the football. Watch Logan go right over the top of Jackson, take the football away. Now the circus starts. Jackson thinks he knocked him down, and I believe he did. But there must not have been a whistle. Jackson's just standing there. Logan standing there decides to run. Now watch what happens. Here comes Darrell Ray and sticks him. Well, the Browns see that from upfield. Half of them ran down. That was going to be a bench-clearing brawl again.
Boy, Logan, the former basketball star at Colorado, like going right over the top for the rebound. And a big 34-yard gain. Green and Darrell Ray, like a shot from his safety spot. The star from Oklahoma making the tackle. Little, if any, gain.
2 big passes by Sipe, again, against the wind. And I've got to believe that playing in this stadium, he has a better feel for throwing into that wind than does Todd. Although certainly Shea Stadium has its share of wind, but this is not Todd's home. Sipe is home here.
Atlanta has taken the lead 10-3 against New Orleans in the third quarter. A Bartkowski to Bailey pass of 70 yards. And Washington's lead now at 31-7. Theismann to Walker, a 10-yard touchdown. Cleveland leads 7-0 in this one with 3.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Second down play. Boyce Green, and he gathers a crowd. Appeared to be Woodring and Mel who collaborated. Jerry Holmes was in on the play as well. It was Holmes who was up from his cornerback spot first. From West Virginia, Holmes, who has already signed a 1984 contract with the USFL, and one wonders how long the Jets go with Holmes, knowing that he's not likely to be around next year.
Dick, I think as long as they're in the hunt, he's in the ball game. If they're out of it for any reason, I think they've got to take him out of the lineup and begin to work someone into that position. Maybe a Devlin Mullen or perhaps a Jesse Johnson. They've got to get somebody else in there. But you won't see that, I don't believe, until they're either out of the season or out of the playoffs.
Third down and 11. And it's over the head of Jones on the near sidelines. Ray or Johnny Lynn, just defensive back with excellent coverage, and Joe Klecko applying pressure on Sipe.
Cody Rison, big right tackle, one of the best players on the field, and you heard Sam talk about it earlier, talking about how important that matchup was between Rison and Gastineau. Look at Rison just sticking Gastineau on the line. He's getting help from Joe DeLamielleure from the inside, and they put a special scheme together to keep Gastineau and Klecko out, and it's really working today. You saw it right there. They just pinned him on the line, didn't give him a chance to move.
Into the wind, Gossett kicking to Harmon. Fair catch. Harmon at the 14-yard line. Not a bad kick at all, considering the circumstances. And we've got a little pushing and shoving going on after the play. Carver, a backup linebacker, gave Harmon a touch as he came down. 2 minutes, 36 seconds. Maybe the most important possession for the Jets in the entire game. Third quarter, and the wind advantage is running out on the Jets, who trail 7-0, and we do have a flag down.
Officials haven't indicated what it is. A penalty obviously resulting from the scuffle. Willis Adams, one of the players involved, right there in the middle of your screen, finally getting a chance to play. Maybe Ben Dreif can sort it out. Personal foul.
Oh, it goes against the Jets. So the Jets, their own worst enemy, will have to start this series from their own 8-yard line, between the 7 and 8.
Terry Roughness, New York 57.
John Woodring is ticketed. So Todd trailing 7-0. He's saying in that huddle, hey, you fellas, how about coming up with one of those great catches? The Browns have come up with 2 unbelievable receptions, one for the game's only touchdown. Touching the Jets offense because of his penalty. They start from just outside the 7-yard line. Crutchfield being chased by Matthews, and he almost ran away from everyone. Finally knocked out of bounds by Clint Burrell at the 18-yard line. That appears to be good enough for a first down for Crutchfield, who has had a good day, 74 yards. Added to his 254 coming in. He's in the top 20 in the NFL.
We said it early that the Jets have not had trouble moving the ball against the Browns. They've been able to do that rather easily. What they've had trouble doing is getting it into the end zone, getting the points. They move down the field, and either they stop themselves or they end up running into problems, and they need to get some points on the board.
With the exception of the wind, a beautiful fall day in Cleveland. 60 degrees, the sun now shining. Wind at the back of Todd. He stays on the ground. Crutchfield. And again, he buys a couple of more yards after the initial hit. Rod Perry, the former Ram, number 40, finally got him out of bounds. But Crutchfield with 3 more yards. It's 2nd and 7.
Trying to probe the right side. Gets it working there. Whitwell still out of the ball game. Perry getting some playing time and has not seen that much playing time this season.
Benny Ricardo, his second field goal, makes it 13-7 Minnesota at Soldier Field, Chicago. Here Cleveland scoring the only touchdown, a 32-yard pass from Sipe to Bobby Jones, a spectacular catch by Jones, and that's the story. And we're running out of time in the third quarter. Todd, the receivers well covered. Now he finds Schuler and a first down at the 32. Whitwell and Cousineau wrestle Schuler down after an 11-yard gain. Well, next week, Merlin, will be at Chase Stadium in New York to see the rematch. Miami and the Jets rematch of the game in the playoffs, and the Jets have been waiting for that one. New Orleans and Atlanta, it's the Falcons leading 10-6. Anderson field goal, 27 yards. 32-yard line with 1:45 left in the third quarter. The Jets trail 7-0. Crutchfield. And they run right, run right, run right. Rarely have the Jets run to the left side in this game, as Crutchfield behind Alexander and Powell gains a couple. Golick made the tackle, and we pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network.
You're watching WKYC TV3 in Cleveland.
Dick Enberg, Merlin Olsen, welcome to Cleveland Stadium. A sellout crowd on its feet to cheer the game's only touchdown. Bobby Jones diving reception of a 32-yard pass from Brian Sipe in the final seconds of the first half. And that is the story, 7-0 with 1 minute left in the third quarter. The Jets have it, second down and 7 at their own 36, and a whistle. May have taken too much time.
I believe that's what it was. Indeed, too much time. And Cleveland came into this game as the most penalized team in all of football, but it's been Jets penalties more than anything, that, along with the turnovers, that have hurt them today. You talked about their running right, Dick. They're having trouble going to their left. Pellegrini is hurt. Pellegrini, of course, is in there for Stan Waldemore, who also went down. Chris Ward has been nursing a sore knee, so you've got 2 injuries on the left side of that line. It's no wonder they're going onto the right side.
It's interesting that Todd has missed on only 3 passes today. He's 12 for 15, but his total yardage is only 85. Just has not been able to get deep against the Browns defense, and needs to get deep here. But goes short to Harper, incomplete. Larry Bobo Brazil on the coverage.
Bruce Harper, one of the strengths of his game is his ability to find the openings in a defense. Watch him just slip up through the line, wide open here. Ball slightly behind him as it, well, came right into his hands. It looked initially like it was behind him. It did drop behind him, but that's a ball that should have been caught. And the Jets just seem to be a step off today. The timing is just not there for Richard Todd and his offensive troops.
Todd from Alabama, looking for 12 yards or more. 49 seconds left, third quarter. That was a desperation, and it's out of bounds to Durkin. Would not have been a first down anyway, and the Browns have held again.
Only 43 seconds left in this half. The Browns are going to have the lead and the football and the win in this fourth quarter.
43 seconds left, and Joe Walton not at all happy, as Todd can't seem to find an open man. Ramsey in a crowd. Dino Hall is tripped up at the 35-yard line. Coverage downfield by Johnny Lynn of the Jets. 36-yard punt with the win. No return, and we have a timeout. The Browns with the ball and the lead. The Cleveland Browns defense has been tough against the Jets today, shutting out New York 7-0. And there's one of the key reasons. Bob Golick, a nose tackle, and what a good story that is. We'll pursue it in just a moment as the Browns have it at their own 35, first down, final seconds of the third quarter. Boyce Green, short yardage. Back to Golick, Merlin Olsen. Well, not back to Golick. Golick, we're going to go to NFL 83 instead. The score here in Cleveland is 7-0 Browns. Now to NFL 83.
All right, thank you, Dick Enberg. In the Orange Bowl, Dan Marino out of the shotgun, shaking off his tough first half. Here he goes to Mark Duper. Pretty play. Duper takes it in. That game's tied 14-all. Back to you, Dick.
All right, so it's super duper in Miami. Bob Golick He was a linebacker at Notre Dame, drafted high by Buffalo, couldn't make it, and someone in the Browns saw his potential as a nose tackle, switched him to nose tackle. He's now the leader of the defense. Golding. We got an interesting quote. We'll save that for the fourth quarter.
It's Spies in Ohio. A special report tonight at 11.
Lake Erie out beyond the open end of Cleveland Stadium. The wind whipping into the closed end, and that is the closed end to which the Cleveland Browns are driving. And those are the third quarter statistics. The time of possession evening out. But again, the Browns outgaining the Jets, who have only 76 yards passing for Richard Todd.
Todd has been very accurate, but short passes. Longest completion, 11 yards today.
First down from the 38. Sipe. Lance Mel and Bob Crable make sure that Sipe doesn't get up at the 43-yard line. A scramble of about 6.
Let's remind those viewers who may have just tuned in that they're not seeing Mike Pruitt, big fullback who would certainly be utilized in this situation, because I've got to believe that Larry Weaver, as much as he likes to throw the football, would rather keep it on the ground here and eat the clock up. But he doesn't have his big weapon, Mike Pruitt. He's got to go to other backs, and that means he goes to what he does best, and it's the passing game. It's not the running game here.
Dino Hall is the setback in this formation. The pass, and it is ruled a catch at the 50. They're ruling that Hall was knocked out of bounds by the Jet tackler, Lance Mel.
That's an interesting rule, but basically what the rule says, Dick, is if you are in the air and the defender would have come down in bounds and the defender knocks you out. Here it is right here. You see he's in the air. Defender knocking him out of bounds. I believe his feet got down anyway, even without the rule. But clearly, he would have come down in bounds had he not been knocked by the defender out of bounds.
Less than a minute gone in the fourth quarter. The Browns at the 50-yard line have a 7-0 lead over the Jets. Under pressure, and Sipe seeing Mel and Buttle. It was Buttle getting there first, and Sipe wisely just tucked it away to prevent the fumble.
A couple of things happening in the game. The offensive line for the Cleveland Browns has been so effective in shutting down the rush that the New York Jets have had to go to the blitz to get pressure on Sipe. That puts a lot of pressure on the defensive backs, especially for a quarterback who's so accurate in the short zones as Sipe. And he has been extremely accurate in his passing today.
Second sack for the Browns, or for the Jets defense. A -5 for the Browns, so it's 2nd and 15. His arm was hit, and it's intercepted by Darrell Ray, or is that Johnny Lynn? They were 28 and 29 at the 36-yard line. It's Ray. He played, Schroy. Ken Schroy.
Okay, all right.
We'll get him.
They got an 8-48. Kenny Schroy, strong safety, shaking hands with Ralph Baker on the sideline. Pressure. They finally got to him. Knocked that ball.
It appeared that Sipe's arm was hit. The ball was loose in the air, and Schroy, a big turnover for the Jets.
Seems like Todd is just forcing a little bit. Not far off target. Passes have been on target, but something's wrong out there today. Things just aren't clicking, and perhaps the confidence level dropping off as they make some of those mistakes on the field.
Now the score is Buffalo regains the lead at Miami in the third quarter. Another Ferguson touchdown pass to Booker Moore. Atlanta leads 10-6 in the third quarter. We'll get the rest of them for you after this play. Third down and 2. Harper, he's got running room, 45-50. And look at him dance all the way to the Browns 39 before Clay Matthews can drag him down. A pretty run by Bruce Harper, 17 yards after the catch.
Seen Harper skittering into the secondary several times today. That's certainly his most effective run, and I believe that will go down as Todd's longest reception, even though it's just a short pass. But watch this beautiful work in the open field. Little fake on the outside. They're just fencing him in. They're just going to try and steer him back into the crowd. Well, that's good play, and they're getting some ground, but they're against the wind. They got to get it down there and pull it in for a touchdown.
At the 39 of Cleveland on first down, Todd looking deep, throws short again to Harper, and he is to the 35-yard line. 4-yard gain before Ambrose can make the hit. 7-0 Cleveland, the score here at Cleveland Stadium. Let's check elsewhere. We go to New York.
All right, Dick Enberg, you mentioned the score a moment ago. Here's how Buffalo did it. Play action fake. Joe Ferguson throwing to Booker Moore. Look how wide open he is. Buffalo regains the lead, 21-14. Back to you, Dick.
All right, Len, here at 7-0 Cleveland. The ball rests at the 35-yard line. Browns territory, in possession of the Jets, are trying to drive to a tying touchdown. Harper, a big hole up the middle, and he gets 10 yards to the 25-yard line, following the block of Scott Durking.
Scott Durking coming up and through there, and Pellegrini also blocking well on that one, as was Joe Fields. And we've got a player on the field. Dick Ambrose, linebacker, is down. He's in pain.
Well, they attend to Ambrose. We said we'd give you the rest of the scores. 31-14, Washington leading St. Louis. We understand Rusty Lish has replaced the injured Neil Lomax. He has thrown his first pro touchdown pass. And the rest of the scores when we return to Cleveland. 11:07 left in the game. 7-0 Browns. To the Browns' 25-yard line.
And just Sirius, talking about the Sirius side of us, Dick Ambrose was helped off the field. Very concerned doctors and trainers on the sideline, Dick. But it is a serious threat for the Jets. They're down to the 25. They need to punch it in.
First down. They trail 7-0. Less than 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Todd off play action. Again throws underneath to Harper. And the little man has 5 more yards. And in the grasp of about 900 pounds of Browns tacklers.
That's making it the hard way. Bruce Harper is really standing the brunt of this offense as he's going downfield. Taking the short pass. Again, they're driving off deep. The Browns staying deep and giving a little room up front. Todd has to go with what's there. Just flips the ball over the top. Look how quickly Harper draws a crowd. One right there. That's Banks that missed him. Cousineau has him. He doesn't get away there. 79. Well,
Bob Golick again.
Bob Golick.
It's the ankle, not the knee of Ambrose. That's good news. Second down and 6. Todd throws to Schuler right into the arms of Cousineau. And the Browns have stopped them again. Cousineau. Schuler was wide open. The ball went right through his hands, and Todd can't believe it.
Todd running to his right, flips a simple pass right into the hands of Schuler. Schuler goes up. It looks like he looked it into his hands. Slipped right through. Great reactions by Cousineau. He just slips it into his pocket, comes upfield.
There's a reason why they're not able to go deep. There's Cousineau playing in the end zone. He's a linebacker.
Well, you march them all straight back, Dick. You force them to throw in front of you, and you hope that this is what happens. You hope they'll make a mistake. And that is what has happened repeatedly to the Jets today. They drive down the field, they get down into scoring position, and they make a mistake.
Well, they may be running out of chances with 9:52 left in the game, and the Browns 7-0 lead, and they have the wind. Sipe tries the short pass to Green. Bob Crable, Notre Dame #1 pick of the Jets a year ago. He was injured early in the season. Fine player against the pass.
Dick, if we were to trace back to the beginning of this game, look into the coaches' notebooks and say, what were they planning on doing and how has it affected the game? The one thing that Sam Rutigliano said he had to do today was shut down the pass rush on the left side of that defensive line for the Jets. He talked about how they were going to work on Klecko and Gastineau. How many calls have we made for Klecko and Gastineau today?
Very few, to the dismay, chagrin of Joe Walton. Johnny Davis is the lone running back. B1 Davis from Alabama, and he gets the call. And short yardage, and there's Joe Klecko. He must have heard you.
And you know, it's unfair to generalize about a game. You got to go and look at the film. You got to watch Klecko and Gastineau. But really what they've done is to move the center over to that side. They've sent Babb repeatedly into Klecko and slid Joe DeLamielleure out there to shut off the room on the right side over there. It's a 3-on-2 situation with Rison and Joe DeLamielleure and Babb, and all three of those guys have had a good, solid game, and they really have done what they wanted to do offensively.
Well, that means Robert Jackson's doing a good job on Lyons. One-on-one 29, Ozzie Newsome. That'll be a first down. Jerry Holmes after a 5-yard gain. Lions is out of there, and Ben Rudolph is playing that right tackle spot. So the Browns not only get the first down, but that allows them to chew on the clock. Exactly 8 minutes left.
Got to get a pass rush.
Washington, the Redskins are for real again. The Super Bowl champions pounding St. Louis 38-14. Denver leads by 6 at Houston in the third quarter. Minnesota 20-7 building their lead at Chicago. The Lions apparently going to win their second 31-7. New England 7-0 at the half against Baltimore. That's a big game for both clubs. Wide open is Logan, and he has another first down as he breaks out of the tackle of Jerry Holmes.
The Jets are not a blitzing team, but they have had to blitz to get the pressure on Sipe this afternoon. Blitz coming here, number 51 at the top of your screen, Greg Butler. Slight delay, and then he flies through. Gets by right there as they lock up on Gastineau. Smashed Sipe, took him down just as he threw the football, but Sipe held it as long as he had to, put it into the hands of his receiver. Another first down.
At the 41-yard line with 6 minutes 55 seconds left. Cleveland leads 7-0. The only touchdown scored by Bobby Jones, an ex-Jet. And that's Jones on cue, wrestled at the 44 after a 3-yard gain. Bobby Jackson, his former teammate, made the stop.
This is the controlled passing game we're seeing. This is really a matter of getting the ball into the hands of the receiver on the break. Sipe doing it effectively here, and really that's almost as steady as a running game if you have the right kind of quarterback and the right kind of receivers and an offensive line that can give you time.
Miami has just tied it. Super duper. A pass from Duper to Nat Moore, 45 yards. So Don Shula pulling out some tricks.
Shula pulling them all out of his back pocket.
I'll bet we'll see that one on NFL 83 Update. That's going to be way short for Logan, as tough to throw accurately when you're on your back. And that was Marty Lyons applying pressure on Sipe.
Finally some pressure from the defensive lineman. Marty got in there and dumped Sipe. Sipe really had to throw it before he was ready and ended up throwing it away.
Another update. New Orleans finds themselves in the lead. The Saints have scored. Stabler to Wade Wilson, 23-yard pass. That's in the fourth quarter. Saints lead. Both these teams trying to stay in first place, or at least a share of first place in their respective divisions. Each with a 3-2 record starting. Each with a share of first in their division. And the Browns lead 7-0. Big third down. And Ozzie Newsome has another first down catch. 8 yards, and the clock continues to run. 5:45 left.
And this is almost vintage Brian Sipe. The thing that characterized these cardiac kids of 1980 was the pinpoint passing of Sipe and fingertip catches like that one by Ozzie Newsome. The only place it could have been caught, all the defenders stacked up behind him. Ball thrown low, he went down, dug it out, just like a first baseman, pulling it up off the ground, getting it in time for the reception.
5:16 left. First down in Jets territory. Hoist green, and a flag down as Grace has hit at the 47 after short yardage. Crable and Troy collaborating.
Now again, how much they miss Mike Pruitt. I think Pruitt runs that draw play so explosively. They really miss him in there.
Holding against the Browns, and that one was really set up. One break of a tackle, and that could have been a touchdown. And we've seen Pruitt get long gains for touchdowns on plays just like that one. But
well, we certainly have, Dick. And the reason that play is so effective, you hammer and hammer and hammer with that passing game, and the defensive lineman finally just starts screeching in there.
Offense holding number 73.
Doug Deacon, who says he doesn't like to go to zoos because it reminds him of the zebras. They remind him of the people that make that call.
Well, it's too true that the offensive linemen unfortunately don't get their share of name calling, or they're having their names called unless they're being penalized.
We have something good to say about Doug Deacon right after this play. Something the other players have honored him with. First and 20. And Greg Buttle. That's no fumble. The play has been whistled dead as Buttle shot through, apparently untouched, the third Jet sack. They've had to go to the Red Dog to stop Sipe. So it'll be second down and plenty for the Browns when we return. Now let's go to NFL 83.
All right, Dick Enberg, here's the play of the day. Moments ago in the Orange Bowl, the Dolphins trailing by 7. Rookie wide receiver Mark Clayton throws the pass to a shocked Buffalo defense. Mark Duper, his second touchdown. They're tied at 21. Back to Cleveland.
And the Browns facing second down and 29. And again, pressure and a whistle. And we may have had movement, or may have been the 32nd violation, delay of game.
And you hear the Boo Birds out here. They had 2 penalties for delay of game last week. Or actually, had to call 2 timeouts.
That's
to
a
avoid
false
them.
start on the quarterback.
Actually gave delay of game signal and a false start on the quarterback. So either way, it's 5 yards and doesn't make Rutigliano happy. Back to Doug Deacon, because I want to finish this. We do often only talk about linemen when they're penalized. 73 Deacon of the Cleveland Browns was named last year to the Whizzer White Award, and that's to the man who contributes most to his team, his community, and his country. Deacon has traditionally been so free in giving of his time to any worthy cause. He's a heck of a man.
He certainly is. I had a chance to have dinner last night with Gene Hickerson, a great all-pro guard from Cleveland, a good friend of Doug's, talking about all the things he does in this community for kids and charitable agencies.
Second down and 34, and Green on the draw gets a lot of it back all the way to the 40. Troy tripping him up. 12 yards on the carry, but third down and 22 facing Sipe.
Again, the blitz coming from the New York Jets. Joe Gardy, defensive coordinator, has really had to change his approach here as the Cleveland Browns have forced the Jets to do some things they don't want to do on defense. Buttle coming, and it opened the way there for Boyce.
And Merlin, that electronic monster, the clock, chewing up time. When you're in the lead, that's fine, but when you're trailing, as are the Jets, it seems to run so terribly fast. This is a big play. Long yardage going to Adams. And you can see the wind drift that ball away when Adams was open.
Apparently, the Jets will have a chance here. Now, put yourself over on the other sideline. Larry Pasquale, special teams coach, sends his troops out. Do you go after this punt? Do you try and block it? Or do you just take a chance on a good return? Kicking with the wind, this ball could go a long distance.
Fairness to Sipe, those 2 interceptions were both balls that should have been caught that were deflected back for the interceptions.
You said Sipe. I'm sure you meant Todd.
No, I meant Sipe.
Oh, okay. Well, they both had interceptions today.
Well, there were 2 interceptions from Sipe, and they both were on deflections. Gossett. That's going to take a Jets bounce, and that it didn't bounce much at all, and goes to the 17 now. So the New York Jets, Richard Todd, 83 yards away from a tying touchdown. 3:35 left. Just moments ago, sadly, Dick Ambrose carted off away from the locker room. Apparently they're going to take him to the hospital for x-rays of that injured ankle. So the veteran linebacker lost, as was Mike Pruitt early in the game, the running back for the Browns. Nevertheless, Cleveland leads 7-0. 3.5 minutes left. Todd ducking from pressure, and now will run it to the 23-yard line. Cousineau, 50, 51. Eddie Johnson to make the tackle.
The Browns came into this ball game with only 5 sacks, have still managed to get pretty good pressure on Todd today. Gotten to him a couple of times. He's really got to get it moving here. The clock ticking down.
Without a huddle, that was a bit surprising. And he has the first down to Durking at the 32-yard line. The Jets have all 3 timeouts left and 3 minutes to go plus the 2-minute warning. Can't quite understand why they're in that big a hurry at this stage. This kind of offense you see in the final 2 minutes.
Well, a couple of changes in that defense. One, of course, Johnson for Ambrose, maybe taking advantage of that.
Oh. Incomplete. Intended for Wesley Walker, and what an effort by Eddie Johnson.
Eddie Johnson is the man who'd gone in place of Ambrose. Gets a lot of playing time anyway, but he's going to play full time now for a while. But I think the answer to your question, why is he going without a huddle, often that will confuse a defense. And sometimes it gives you a chance to get downfield quickly. You force the defense to call their audibles before they're ready to call them.
Joe Walton. His team has been blanked. High-scoring New York Jets. 34 points on Monday night. They scored 41 against San Diego. 2nd and 10. Open is Lamb Jones at the 50-yard line. First down. That may be the longest throw of the game. 18 yards. That's the longest pass of the game for the Jets.
Again, no huddle. Larry Brazil, 47, the man covering Lamb Jones. But that was a good pass from Todd against the wind.
Well, the Jets have used the no huddle at the start of games. They like it. They're used to it. Durking for 4 yards to the 46-yard line with 2:17 left.
The critical thing here, avoid the mistakes that have cost them all day long. The interceptions, the penalties, they've got to move it down and get their touchdown.
Yeah, and sometimes that no huddle hurry up offense creates mistakes. At the 2-minute warning, open is Walker, and he has a first down at the 33-yard line, and time has been called with 1:57 left in the game. You see Walker checking the clock. It says 1 minute 57 left, 7-0 Cleveland.
26 yards on the reception by Wesley Walker. He finally got deep on them. Going without the huddle has helped the New York Jets here. Whitwell coming up to put the clamps on Wesley, but he had a big first down.
We may be in for another fantastic finish. Oh, that reminds us of this.
Alcoa presents Fantastic Finishes. 1981, the Rams have fought back to tie Houston with 1.5 minutes left as Frank Corral kicks off to Willie Tullis at the 5. Tullis starts left and stays left. He picks up some blockers and rolls to midfield. With Carter Hartwig fighting Leroy Irvin all the way down the sideline, Tullis goes into the end zone for a 27-20 Oiler victory.
Pick it up, pick it up. Pick up your favorite beverages in a
7-0. The Jets have beaten the Browns only once in 7 games. And that was the last time they met, 14-13 here 2 years ago. First down, under pressure. Todd, he has a man, and it's complete to Lamb Jones. That's back-to-back catches by Jones, and it's a first down at the 15. The Jets continue to hurry, and should they score in their hurry-up offense, it will give the Browns a chance to come back. Harper was wide open, incomplete at the 12-yard line, and Harper had some room to operate. That stops the clock with 1:34 left.
Dick, I think the reason that they've continued to operate without the huddle is that they have really been more effective when you can't get the calls in. Marty Schottenheimer, defensive coordinator, has been brilliant in calling his defenses today. And I think what they were hoping is that they would force the calls to be made on the field instead of allowing Schottenheimer to counter from the sideline.
You saw Derek Gaffney set in from the sidelines with the play. Richard Todd trying to get the Jets in the end zone to tie the game, and this crowd comes to life. Touchdown, Bruce Harper. You can't throw the ball into the wind better than that. Harper running a deep post or deep out, and that ball right in his lap.
And in this moment of triumph, or it certainly would be, of being able to come back and tie this ball game up, you've got to believe that Joe Walton would like to have another shot at that 4th and 1 when he passed up what would have been an easy field goal early in the ball game. Let's take another look at Richard dropping back, getting good protection from his offensive line, and zip the strike right there.
And the extra point, which was so critical into the wind, is good by Leahy, and it's tied at 7. They had to get the extra point. Now, the hurry-up offense worked. The defense of the Browns never seemed to get settled, but the other side of that coin is the Browns have 1:28 left to try to get a field goal and the win. And there it is, Todd on a string to Bruce Harper. Oh, the Jets have welcomed him back, and we have a tie game, 1:28 left. A most impressive drive by the Jets. A little over 2 minutes to drive almost the full length of the field. 9 plays. The payoff 15 yards. Richard Todd to Bruce Harper. The kids, meaning the cardiac kids, are back here in Cleveland. Well, here's a chance for them. Johnny Davis at the 25. the big fullback out to the 35-yard line. So the Browns start in good field position.
Dick, the Jets have talked all week, in fact, a good part of the season, about the fact that they seem to have their backs against the wall. They said, we just keep digging a deep hole, and it doesn't seem like we can play until we get ourselves down. Well, they finally climbed up to where they can at least see the top of the hole, but they've got some more work to do if they're going to get out of town with a victory here. The Browns, meantime, probably going to get themselves a chance here if they can use the wind properly, get downfield. Change of philosophy. You saw the short passes earlier. Now you've got to stretch a little bit. Let's look for Sipe to mix the short passes with the long ones here.
1 minute, 24 seconds left. All the Browns want is a good field goal chance, and they have the wind to help them. Oh, that's going to work. Holt's got running room, 40. And Darrell Ray tackles at the 49. That was a tremendous defensive play by Ray. There were two blockers on Ray. He was able to fight off both of them and make a tackle, or Holt has maybe a touchdown.
Cody Rison, number 63, one of those blockers. Now Sipe is going without a huddle. He's going to be right back at him.
55 seconds left. Draw. Green. And wrestling him down, Lance Mel, the brilliant linebacker for the Jets. 47 seconds, and the Browns spend a timeout. Oh, this become a very exciting game.
What a big play by Darrell Ray.
Didn't that look like a touchdown right off the drawing board?
Well, I don't know if it would have been a touchdown. Certainly big yardage if Ray hadn't been able to stand off the blockers and stay in the way and then make the one-on-one tackle.
That's Matt Barr. And one thing he's looking at is that flag, saying, keep blowing. Keep that wind blowing. His longest ever in regular season play is under 50. He did kick one 52 yards last year in the playoffs at Los Angeles against the Raiders. So when you figure his range, 50 is about it. But with the wind today, he might be able to boost it from a little farther out. Next Sunday, we have another big lineup for you here on NFL 83. We hope you'll be with us. Some great games. Merlin and I will be at Shea Stadium as Miami's Dolphins play the Jets. Other scores, well, we have a break in the action. Speaking of Miami, they're behind Buffalo 28-21. Ferguson to Cribbs. Joe Ferguson's had a big game, 4 touchdown passes. New Orleans has a 16-10 lead against Atlanta in the fourth quarter. Washington bombing St. Louis 38-14. Denver leads Houston 23-14. The Oilers still looking for that win. Minnesota has a 6-point lead in the fourth at Chicago. Detroit apparently will beat Green Bay. They lead 31-7. New England in the third quarter 7-0 at Baltimore. Here it's tied at 7-all. 47 seconds left. Browns ball at their own at the 49 of the Jets. Dave Logan to the 30, and they're in field goal range. 20 yards on the play.
Cleveland Brown offensive line doing a brilliant job of protecting their quarterback Brian Sipe and giving him time to do his job. And boy, he is doing it well.
22 seconds, 21 seconds, 20 seconds. Draw play, and Green does not get back to the line of scrimmage with 13 seconds left, and the Browns call time. Well, they do have enough time, officially with 12 seconds left, to try one more pass play, Merlin, if they have a timeout to spend to stop the clock. Barr, blow, Gabriel, blow.
It certainly wants that wind at its back. It'll be interesting to see what their choice is here. Will they choose to throw it one more time, put it on the sideline, take a chance with another few yards? They'd like to get some more yardage here. Chris would like to be closer than this. That's going to be what, 47-yard field goal, Dick?
It would be a 47-yard try if the line of scrimmage is where the ball now rests. The wind continues to whip in off the lake, blowing toward the closed end. But as you pointed out earlier, Merlin, doesn't always blow straight to the uprights. You get a circular effect of the wind, and unless you're dead center in your kicks, it can blow them wide right or left in a hurry, much like getting a golf ball into the wind. If you have any kind of a hook or slice, it's exaggerated all the more by the wind into your face, or wind behind you for that matter. Well, the crowd, they've got the Browns, at least they feel, in position where Barr is within range. Sam Rutigliano would like to get a few more yards for him.
He's called his play. Talking to Larry Weaver on the phones upstairs. Joe Gardy has sent his defense into his troops. He's up here, I'm sure, biting his fingernails in the press box looking down. They've got the 4-man line in to rush. Rudolph in there in place of Lyons. Let's see if they come with a blitz. They've been blitzing to try and get pressure on the quarterback. Will they do it here?
Yeah, they can't afford to sack the Browns. And they don't take a chance. They just line it up. Green staying in the middle of the field to the 27-yard line. There's the timeout with 6 seconds left. And here comes Matt Barr. It will be a 43-yard attempt. And you know all the rest of the story. He's got the win. This is for the game or for overtime.
Now you play through this whole 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours of football, and it comes down to this. To one shot. You need a good snap. You need a good hold. And this man has to hit the ball cleanly.
The Jets have a timeout and may use one just to let Barr think about it. Let's see if Klecko uses the timeout. Crowd on its feet. 44 yards out of McDonald's hold. Dramatic 44-yard field goal by Matt Barr. The Browns stay in first place. The Jets are 3-3.
And certainly if you're giving out the game balls, that man just got handed a ball. He deserves one for that kick. But you got several to give to that offensive line. The job they did on Klecko and Gastineau on the right side. And certainly the job that Sipe did after a little bit of a shaky start, getting the ball to his receivers, and finally, of course, setting up that last big kick for Barr to put it through and take the game away.
All in the absence of the leading rusher in the American Football Conference, Mike Pruitt, who was lost in the first quarter with a rib injury, and Sipe was able to rally his team using those good blocks, and with the exceptional catches, Logan making one, and then the only touchdown for the Browns by an ex-Jet, Bobby Jones, a leaping catch in the end zone at the end of the first half, and the Browns put all the pieces together, and the little things add up to a very exciting 10-7 win.
No question about it. The Jets just could not catch fire today, Dick. Always moving the ball, but always finding a way to hurt themselves.
We understand that Sam Rutigliano is ready to offer some post-game comments.
Well, actually, what we're going to do is go back and look at what Sam said at the beginning of this ball game. You remember how we set it up, Dick?
Oh, that's right. He said, in order to dance, well, we're going to cut off the music on Gastineau. Here was the comment.
Everybody knows that it's going to be a great matchup between Gastineau and Cody Rising. You and I both know it takes two to tango, and hopefully Cody Rising will cut the music off and have Mark Gastineau walking to the Tennessee Waltz.
What an old friend I have. Well, come on.
Come on now, guys. I'd say it doesn't boil down to two people, but Cody Rising deserves to take a bow. He did indeed play a brilliant game.
And the Cleveland Browns, you say, well, what was wrong with the Jets offense? The Cleveland Browns, their defensive scheme had to be well planned and well executed.
Marty Schottenheimer and his troops did a fine job. Banks, a big game from Banks, some big plays. You go back and look at a couple of critical plays. That 4th and 1 early in the game when Walton decided to go for it. Banks shot through and took Augustiniak down. Or was it Durking? One of the two, running outside left. Banks came through later with some big plays, as did the other linebackers. But an exciting ball game for us, Dick.
And we want to thank our help in the booth, Messrs. Betschel and Halbin, old Joel Costanza, Dravish Schlick, and Slingshot Schneiderman. Final score, Cleveland 10, the Jets 7. The executive producer of NBC Sports, Michael Weissman. Coordinating producer, NFL Football, Ted Nathanson. Today's telecast, produced by Larry Cirillo, directed by Ted Nathanson. Technical director, Bill Toby. Associate director, Mike Heilbaum. Dick Enberg for Merlin Olsen. My turn to lead.
A promotional fee has been paid.
Have returned. Well, hardly a kid, Brian Sipe, who enjoyed that from the sidelines.
Oh, no question about it. But I'll tell you what, after the play before that, when we came to the sidelines, I commented to some of the guys, there's nobody I'd rather have had out there than Matt Barr. Matt Barr's burned us before when he was over in Pittsburgh, and I'm mighty happy he's doing it for us now.
Brian, how about the wind? We talked about it throughout the game. How big a factor was it?
The wind was a big factor. As a matter of fact, going to the open end of the field towards the big scoreboard, there were some pretty hefty gusts, and it made it very difficult to throw the ball. I heaved one about as far as I could on one play to Harry Holt. I think it fell about 30 yards down the field. But when we came out in the second half, we purposely kicked into the wind so we could have the wind in the fourth quarter and hopefully determine the game with the wind.
It worked out. Brian, how much of a change did you have to make offensively when you lost Pruitt?
Well, I'll tell you what, we didn't change all that much. We have a young kid here named Boyce Green. You guys all got to watch him work today. He's been waiting in the wings. Of course, when you're behind a guy like Mike Pruitt, you have to be very patient. But Boyce picked up the slack admirably, and you might see a lot of things from him later on.
The Jets came after you with a lot of blitzes, weren't able to get you with their defensive linemen. Did that surprise you a little bit?
Well, I should say yes because of the ferociousness of their rush. But, you know, we played these guys in 79, 80, and 81, and our offensive line had a good day against them all three of those years. I don't want to say I was taking it for granted, but it doesn't surprise me that they played that well today. They played that well all year.
Well, congratulations, Brian.
All right, thank you.
And Brian, and to Bobby Jones, that circus catch for the Browns touchdown, that was a delight to watch.
Well, it was a big moment for all of us, not just him.
Brian Sipe, one of the many heroes for the Cleveland Browns. Matt Barr's 44-yard field goal at the end of the game. Jones' touchdown catch at the end of the first half. A 3 added to a 7, and the Cleveland Browns are now 4-2 with a dramatic 10-7 win against the New York Jets. From Cleveland Stadium, back to NFL 83.
Thank you, Dick Enberg. Well done. It's now the first-place Browns all by themselves. Who would have thought with just 2 rushing touchdowns now after 6 games, they would still be 4-2. The Browns have done it. We'll be back with more on the Budweiser NFL Report after these words from Bud.
Kickoff is brought to you by Old Spice Antiperspirant and Deodorant. They help stop underarm alarm 24 hours a day.
When you've got the speed to outrun anyone in the stadium, you've got the hot motor of a great receiver. When you've got the moves and the instincts that squirt you past clutching fingers, you've got the stuff that makes a great running back.